That's our camera up there. Hello everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to live judging, as you can see here, with Sebastian Archer and myself, Trent Dennison. We will be attempting something I don't think's been attempted anywhere before, which is live streaming all of our judging of the inaugural Crimson Brush. So we will not be interacting with chat. We will just be following our normal process and chatting about the models. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. There will be other people out and about that might be able to answer it for them, and we may come in and look through the chat after we've finished and respond to any questions then. So a quick rundown. Our normal process is we're going to grab models from here. We have another table set up just over here where we're going to place models that we believe are medal worthy, just as a first cut, and then we get into more elaborate discussion. So looking forward to it. Let's kick off.
Great.
They did like a Space Marine sort of.
Will you start over here? I'll start over here.
They call them bus. Yeah, right. We've got a lot to learn about the bus game, I think. But more people involved, the better.
I do think the standard's really high this year, eh? Like
I agree. It's
No, Jack of all trades.
I think this year's going to be
where do we cut the medals? Yeah.
But there's more to it than that. Master of None, and then there's more to
There's
that.
two other ones.
Yeah.
they're all individual. Yeah, they are.
It's
Yeah.
something that's
Not like a
something
group.
Nah.
equates to a job getting position where the master of none earns more money.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so, and it's similar to the term good enough government work came out of the US when they were building food there.
Yeah, right.
And it was, this is good enough government work because and then suddenly that changed. It's not from big projects.
Can they see the table or only?
No.
That's just the, and so the master, Jack of all trades, master of none.
UFC's on right now, so we're competing with the UFC.
Back into
It's a big fight too.
Yeah, and Garno
Francis
and
Ngannou and Cyril Gane.
But I haven't really seen much of Cyril Gane.
He's a very technical. He's a phenomenal fighter for a big boy. All right, here we go. So these are the New York dumpsters. I think there's, oh yeah, it might be another swipe because it's in a group chat.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're awesome. If you had the taxis to go with
I think
it.
we're going to need to be quite
Yeah, I think it's going to be ruthless this year.
to be pretty.
Otherwise, we're giving out a shit ton of medals.
Are these yours?
Yeah, these
yeah,
are mine.
right, yeah, right. You've done the buildings as well.
Yeah, so this is one of the buildings. This is the back of it.
Hang on, that one.
Yeah, that's the fun, just a fun one.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, all the
Awesome.
hand-painted graffiti,
Yeah, I love
drops
it.
and all that sort of
Love it.
stuff, and posters, and that's the cool thing about that particular game is you can do some fun stuff like that.
I was very close to doing a whole board that I would never use, but just wanted to do one for it.
Yeah. So that's all those again, all the cars and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
They are actually not fun to paint in slides.
Well, I started airbrushing,
Yeah.
and that didn't work too
So
well.
did I taped off all the windows.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, I'm just going to do this like real scale modelling.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Actually, you know when you make it just way harder for yourself? Yeah, one of
That's
those.
exactly what I did. I don't think I even took any photos of them myself, except one.
Yeah. But yeah, I only ended up painting those 5. I've got a bunch of other villains that I wanted to do, but the inspiration passed pretty quickly for it.
They're not the same minis as the ones that the
Night model.
big child guys are doing.
No.
Got any biases?
No,
Is
Big
your
Child is
favourite
doing
set
all
that
of
you
the
sculpted?
Marvel heroes.
There's a couple of your figures.
Oh,
here,
the
so-
big-
I noticed
Watch
that.
yourself, son. Watch yourself.
I'll be very
I've got a whole new
impartial.
paint.
Actually, I think it's a disadvantage.
Yeah, because you're more critical.
I'm very critical of my own.
Yeah, because Drew Martinez is done a few as well. Alfonso did the what's it called? The Punisher.
shop were you working at? What did you have?
Who do I work for?
Oh, who were you? You saying that you knew the bloke from Desert at a shop that you...
Oh, yeah, I still work there, yeah. I
Oh.
work for Games Workshop.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, yeah, I've been there 15 years now.
Oof, it's going to be tough.
I know.
Actually, I saw they're looking for somebody in Newcastle.
They are.
But I mean, do they say for 6 months because they want to trial people? Or do they say
Depends
6
where
months
we
because...
put the line.
Does it
Guys
say,
coming back.
literally 6 months?
It
Or?
says 6 months.
I like this.
Contract. Contract.
Yeah,
that could mean anything.
I was gonna
someone
ask you
going
one.
on leave.
Yeah,
or
right.
that sort of stuff. For example, we've just got, getting
worth a discussion. Yeah, it's worth a discussion.
If it any doubt,
Yep.
putting an 18-week contract together for that store. So.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I probably know people, most of your local, if you ever go to Games Workshops, most of your local.
Yeah,
What's your local?
So Troy,
Yeah,
he's been there for 20 years.
Chief has been there for much more than 20 years, 24 years, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, he's a part of the furniture.
Yeah.
Newcastle over the years, Tommy.
There's a guy with a, who looked like an evil magician.
For me,
dark
this
hair.
guy's
Long hair?
Yeah, dark long hair. And now, I think it's Adam.
So yeah, Newcastle actually had a really stable crew
That's
for a long time. and then just
that's
jumped
it about
a whole
worth
bunch
a
of
discussion,
stuff.
for sure.
No one's
Same
really
guy.
stuck now there for long.
A better beast for me, so I think that's in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, it's a fairly uni-based place now.
Yeah.
So I think that the people that
Yeah,
It has to get
That's-
right there.
I think that's-
There's also people like me, my generation.
Just miss out.
There's few and far between right now.
There's
There's a couple I want to put on here.
And is
just
there a
to
lot
have
of pressure
discussion
on you to
about
sell?
Yes.
whether they end up being metalworking or not.
Well, look, there's been generations of Games Workshop and different iterations as we've gone through. I've worked in many different generations.
Not much.
What you're referring to there is probably
this
the remnants
guy's-
of the red shirt days, which was that, you know, if you go into a Games Workshop store, they're going to literally, you know, jump on you.
Oh, no, I don't know. Looking at other retail stores, there is a pressure.
Well, of course, there's KPI focused and there's sales targets and figures and all those sorts of things. But for the most part, Games Workshop these days is not interested in that being the primary motivation of their staff members serving their customers.
Yeah, right. I guess they think that
We're very-
the product sells.
Yeah. I mean, we know it does. I mean, and I guess you're talking to someone who's been in it for 15 years. And I've got. I mean, if you were to talk to my peers about how I run things or how I. My philosophy within Games Workshop. I don't drink coffee. You're going to go coffee. You're going to go coffee.
I do, but where are you going to go?
This one.
Is that where Seb's going?
Yeah. Where did Seb, hey, Trent, where? Oh, sorry, you
It's,
guys.
it's
Yeah, we like.
just the cafe.
Oh, there's
inside,
Seb there.
the big hall next door. There's like a cafe at the front, so it's right at the entrance.
The way that I look at it,
Yeah, I'll come down and get one. Yeah, he's going to end up selling. Yeah, sorry.
I firmly believe that our job is basically the same. Confirming customers are in the right place. My job is to sell.
Yeah.
I just want you to have a good time and be able to get your hands on what you want to get your hands on. That's all I care about.
Yeah, great.
I come in and buy a paint, and that's all we're going to talk about.
And they're not encouraging people, like, this is just the business thing, so they're not encouraging people to buy online.
We
and get
definitely
rid
did.
of the shops.
We absolutely did in the period of time. What we
It
need
was
to
a
be
chat,
able to
yeah.
do is do what they're comfortable with.
This one,
If you want to order
this
from
one,
online, if you want to go to
probably fall
the
under.
table is vast and we can
I don't want
release
to do
it.
a 100 models, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe leave those over there. for the moment.
I don't think that there's.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if
They're on par.
they're easy here, they have to be.
And I remember thinking, I wonder whether they're going to be trying to move towards just an
Do
online,
the
or get
next
rid of the stores, but I don't think they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
No, you're right, I thought I'd leave
Yeah.
because I'd let you be getting everybody's copies.
No,
off.
they come with me. I can go if you want if you want.
But then I have to say my copy order out loud.
You're not reading this.
Could I have an flat white with honey,
Yeah, I'm
please?
open to it.
I'll see if I can do that for you.
It's better than my old one, which was a decaf soy latte. Oh.
Sounded interesting. I'd rather do something like that. Oh, I don't think probably all.
why
This-
the
Yes,
short
it's
hands
not
are
the-
just
Short
makes it
hand.
really bad size, but almonds a lot better. Like they are. You've got to get used to it like you did for soy probably.
Yeah, I went to Oatmeal. Oatmeal's pretty good. It's got ridiculous
Thanks.
flavors.
A lot of,
One I ordered
lot of
this
tables.
morning was an oatmeal.
Yeah, you'll need to do those.
Yeah, so, and I think that's,
Okay, which one?
I think it's great. Yeah, so look, I was worried, but I was thinking that they might be trying to get rid of the stores, but they can't.
it's not that we can't, we just never.
Well, I mean, you can't, as in, that's the.
You probably shouldn't be able to hear us at this stage because we're just having a chat away from the microphone, but we're about to move into some more specific judging. What we've done, for those who've just joined, we've made a cut on the figures that we believe fall into medal-worthy category, and we're now about to dive in and start deciding where the medal sits. Where it sits. So it'll be interesting. Comparatively from previous years, this is probably a very high standard, but that's because we've got probably a smaller number of participants with a lot more entries. So
Very much,
interesting.
so there's, to understand the customer who buys a Games Workshop, there is and this has been for my entire time. First off, that actually.
There's a lot of his works over here already, and I felt like some of those had things that I didn't like, but it's you do a sweep, mate. Tell me what you think. If you feel they're in the mix, then bring them in the mix.
The commitment required
I think
for
this
this
in the interest of
He's drunk.
consistency,
Yeah.
we
Not
have
everyone's
to.
cut out for that, but some people
I understand
throw
your
their
point.
whole.
Yeah, we
Come
can
to
make
that
that. Yeah.
next.
Some
Yeah.
customers for
In that
15
case,
years
probably
who just buy
definitely,
boxes and maybe build them. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's hard for us to understand to some degree because we're all
Yeah.
very active.
Yeah, no,
I mean, one of a guy who works in our warehouse, his hobby, he runs our warehouse. His hobby is he's bought one
Yep.
or two box sets that
Yep.
come out. He has it in a massive iron shed.
Alright, so
happy with that not being in the mix? You know,
Yeah.
that,
fine.
we sometimes I think we get caught up in thinking, you know, everyone's hobby is different, whatever, but there's so many different ways that people get involved, you know. Black Library just being as a hobby of itself, you know, people who just want to read the books, and that's their way to interact with Warhammer. Here's a new one, and a really interesting one, License 5. That's a new one that's really key readers and action figures and
Oh yeah, with Bandai, they're
yeah,
doing something,
comic
aren't
books
they?
and things like that. Like, you know, there's just so many different ways.
But tell me this, here, riddle me this, why haven't they come out with their own web palette?
It's a great question. I would say that at
To
this
be
point in
honest,
time.
anyone who uses a web app probably already has one in the Troy Games Workshop's tool.
Well,
I would.
but the thing is, I saw on my mate's got one of the Plus, and on the
They use web palettes.
yeah,
This one, they use web palettes on it.
why don't they just
Well,
do their
I
own?
just
Well, maybe they will.
Yeah.
We need to maybe.
In my store, everyone uses web palettes.
Just
Oh,
look
good.
over
I
here.
mean, I encourage everyone to use web
Yeah,
palettes.
let's leave
Model
this. We
level,
can do a
because
second.
if we decide a certain way, these need to be.
Yeah, no, yeah.
At a very
Yep.
principal level,
Cool.
keeping your paints
So-
voice just while you're painting.
Alright.
You know.
Let's work out
Let's work out a rough gold bar, or do you want to go bronze up?
I think the
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
silver
yeah,
and
that's
gold
what I
will
was-
sort themselves
Okay,
out.
so
Once
bronze.
we'll have a big discussion about that, but
Yep.
I think
I guess you'd
just
say
to
that I'm probably a
Yep.
fairly
get the numbers, I think we need to work
Alright.
out the.
This bronze, this is where my head's at. That's sort of standard, and I say that because this one is weaker on the metal. How about I do this? And you can have a sit down on the chair if you want.
Okay.
So this for me, it's from David obviously. The metal on the non-metallic metal, it looks like grey. It doesn't read as metal to me. So you've got a lot of really nice storytelling, but
I think this is an interesting one to show if everyone's listening, and we're not going to talk to the audience for everything, but just as an introduction. What we look at when judging isn't just technique. There's a lot of elements. Technical painting ability is one element, and that's what's on display here. But we're missing narrative connection maybe between. We're also looking for kind of concept, I guess, and creativity and impact. And this is a good example to explain to everyone, I think, at the start before we launch into the big discussions, where technical painting is very high, but maybe those other elements that Trent was starting to talk about
let it down.
And would, if you were to ask what's wrong technically, there's nothing with the painting technique. It's more about how do you So Trent's first impression of picking this up, very first impression was, the metal looks a bit grey. And that's sort of it in a nutshell. It's missing a kind of point of focus, or it's meant to be two orcs in Mad Max cars speeding along in a fight, and it looks
there's not enough sense of motion, and that's a hard thing to create in a miniature, right?
It is, but it's important to the concept. The concept we're being presented with is that two, speeding orc cars. So you got to find a way to make them.
I tend to go on gut feel, right? My first instinct is, do I believe what this is, and am I invested in it as a piece? And if my gut instinct is yes, then I go, okay, cool, and then I'll start to look at the details. And for me, that doesn't look like metal, and so I sort of immediately go, this is a painting of some things. It doesn't feel as cohesive or as, and David's got some other pieces with some metals that we'll look to later on. So this for me falls into a bronze level.
Yes. So if we and so now we can look at. Let me have a real close look under the lights. So if we call this level of high technical ability, but lacking in the areas we've just mentioned. But we'll use this. This is a good one then to use as a benchmark for a.
So there may be something that isn't as technically proficient, but maybe has a little bit more, other areas that falls into that category.
Conceptual impact. Okay. So now let's.
Okay.
That's
cool.
good. That's a good.
So that's our starting point. So.
Now maybe we can look at
This is probably one that's on the borderline for me. So this is a bust from Hera Models, and this is the part to me that I find compelling. So this tattoo is a really it's one of the best tattoos I've seen done, but the skin is lacking contrast.
It's a bit
pallid.
Yeah, it's a bit flat in terms of color tones, or I mean, if you've got something so simple as this, you need to find a way to create a concept from it. And adding the tattoo is good, but it's not enough to.
You got the other one there, because we've got another dark, I think, up the back. Yep. Is that audio improved, team?
Can they hear us?
Yep. I can turn it up a bit more if you want. There you go.
This one's more.
So these, cool. I'll just turn it up a smidge more again. Yeah. So there's two of the same model side by side, so that's interesting. And you can immediately see the contrast, the values in this, as well as the level of nuanced colour. There's more richness in the skin, orange, red, some purples.
Yeah.
But it's a very.
I'm not sure. I think this is close. It may be, it's borderline, and let's put it at the
cusp.
border edge, and we'll decide where the line falls.
Because this is compelling. The rest, it lets it down. So.
Whether it's enough to pull it up, but
cool.
it's a good
that's at the bottom end.
It's a good benchmark.
And this probably is around probably a smidge high.
Yeah. So we'll put it here.
Yep.
Now let me find
hammer guy, big mace guy. And this guy, this guy, maybe. This guy. Grab this one. So this one, I think there's some compositional weaknesses here. So when I look at this from the front, right? So if this is the front of the piece, there's a large nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of
It's not adding to the story. He's obviously hopping off a boat, right? And this is the docks, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I agree. It's maybe you know, if it, like you said, if it's twice as big as it needs to be, that's attracting from it. Yeah. And technique-wise, it's good, but I'm not sure if it's enough to save it. It's a
I like where it was going.
Just before we continue, can I say one more thing if anyone's listening? We both have the utmost respect for everyone that enters a painting competition, and
it's our job to be ruthless.
It's, we're not. Kudos to everyone who's entered. It's fantastic. All the miniatures are fantastic.
Absolutely.
It's our job to be really pick apart every aspect of them and try to have the difficult job of awarding some medals and others not. So
suck it up.
So we're going to be mean. We're going to be really mean.
So I hadn't actually noticed this shield. That's a nice element, and I like the colour, the tie-ins of the colours. But I feel like
it doesn't make sense to me though, because it's.
He's not on it.
It's
not in the
iron and everything else is bronze. Or whatever.
I'm also like it. There's not enough focus on him as an element. The focus is on all of this. Like when I pick it up and look at it, I see this and I see this before I really am drawn to him.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a
well,
weakness.
the metal is different. The bell. Look at the bell compared to like the hammer and.
Yeah, this is really nicely sort of edge highlighted but then you don't get the same level of detail here, and this is significantly worse, and this is even worse again. So. Falls under for me, and I mean to talk about him, it's nice.
There are some really good elements,
there's also some volumetric issues here in the way that he's highlighted the volumes. Like, why is this in shadow? Why is this in shadow? It shouldn't be in shadow. So, so that falls under for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Me too.
Cool. Hey, Bucks, can you grab me a paintbrush just so we can point at stuff?
Yeah, I was going to do exactly. Okay, so that's we started working out a line.
Yep, cool.
Maybe we can shift a few things.
Yeah.
So with that, so then if we call that, these are the ones I wanted to just. So if we're going to say
really tired. And that's where it goes. You sit there and go, I'm just looking at Netflix for really
Thank you, mate.
I think this would be
when I finished up working some things I took about a day and a half off of work. Thursday, Friday.
Yep. So this is the one that probably falls in that same sort of bracket, and this one as well.
Kids off to school, whatever I was doing, get back.
Okay. Well, going on what we just said, then this has the same issues
sort of
we
issues.
just talked about.
Yep.
So then
Falls down there. Yep. So these two here are sort of some different. So this is just a basic sort of bust. My issue is that there's not enough extra interest. It's very flat volumes. they're all really nicely detailed,
Yeah, it's
really
nice.
nicely done.
Yeah.
There's no issues with the painting in any component. Maybe some volume. This area should be wider in terms of light, depending on where the light source is.
I'm a bit bothered by the gloss
Yep.
here in the shadows.
Yep.
It's just, I find, and it's under here,
Yeah,
because it's
detracting.
bringing light
Yeah.
in where it shouldn't
should
be,
be, yeah.
and as you said, I think it's technically it's great up here,
Yeah.
but something needs to happen.
Yeah, like whether that's a
The-
tattoo to break up the interest, or whether that's some sort of colour shifting into some different mottling or skin
Yeah.
patterns.
Or the horns. I mean, there's
Yeah.
possibility. I mean, it's not our job
No,
to
but it probably is enough to be a bronze, because it's a neat.
It's very neat. Yeah, it's very neat. And even though, after what I said before, I respect painting technique, and that is why we decided that the orcs
Yeah.
on the trucks deserve the bronze because of the technique.
Yeah.
So I think. Okay, let's put this in
Yep.
bronze,
Yep.
and then we'll
Cool.
see. So that's.
So I think we're saying those ones are out.
I think we're saying that.
Yep. Okay. So we can probably shift those over back onto the.
Well, let's just. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I'm comfortable that's not in. This one.
Did they go anywhere?
No, just pop it.
I got all the numbers right.
Yep. So this one we may come back to. So we'll leave that one there. This one's out.
I think that's leave that there, but I think that's it out.
Yep.
If that's just in, I'm just.
Just in.
Then
Yep.
I think this has to be just out.
I agree.
This has got more.
Yeah. More, the contrast, the lack of contrast in the skin tone is where that falls down. So I think another.
now we can-
So this is sort of maybe bronze here.
It's hard to see this one.
Yep.
These are. This one.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those do you have? So if you straight on the corner,
So I'm gonna this one and this one work. This one's possibly gonna miss out for the same virtue. But let's compare these two. This is the same guy. Yeah. So same plinth, so you know it's the same guy. Come on, mate.
I'm not clued into all the
mix
tricks.
up your plinths,
Yeah.
mate. Mix up your plinths, you fucking. Yeah, so I mean, I this is obviously a couple of your figures, which is cool. From the Twisted game, check it out on the website. Lovely, Twisted.
I'm supposed to be the one plugging it.
What I like is the dynamic composition. This is an interesting composition.
Yeah, that's the big strength here is
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah.
It's a evocative scene. You're taken to a rooftop and encounter.
This is too close for
Yeah,
me. Like
I agree.
Like if you're pointing at someone to say, "Hey, let's have a fight," well, this guy I assume is like proposing a duel or whatever he's doing.
That's true.
But I don't think there's any other way to.
But as we said before, if it was more space, it would be dead space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the level, okay, technique-wise, let's have a really.
So I think it's interesting, and this is sometimes where the elaborate basing lets you down, because this is a nicely painted figure, but this rock area and these look like the same type of element, and it doesn't read as rock or whatever, and this is as a metal. They're both grey, and I feel like that lets it down.
Yeah, it's. It's. The colours are nice, but I'm missing. It's not. I think if you're going to tell a story like this, and it works compositionally, but maybe the colour palette that needs to be the story needs to be there as well. So, and the textures. So, as you said, the maybe something. So, I'm going on from a lot of tangents here, but the part of what you're talking about, I think, is the lighting is very global. You know, so it's the lighting on the. I need a brush too. The lighting on the.
Bucks,
Can we maybe have another brush,
mate. 2 brushes, please. Thank you. 2 brush, 1 cup.
That can be yours. You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
The lighting here is the same as here and here. There's no sense of you know, because we're trying to focus on a story.
There's no atmosphere.
There's no atmosphere because the
pushing
light's
you
just
to
the
this.
same on everything.
And actually, when you look at it, this is the area that I'm looking at first.
Yeah.
Because of how much the value is
well, that's
higher in
got-
this area.
that's right.
And that should be the opposite. We should be lowering the focus there, darker, drawing you into the models.
Also, the colors. I mean, I know it's. Well, for me, to make a more of a.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you. The blue and purple, it doesn't tie. Like it's sort of.
Yeah. You've got
worries
these
me.
warm reds
Yeah.
and these sort of orangey terracottas, and then all of a sudden here's this guy.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, sometimes you do that to draw focus and to create a, you know, impact, but it feels jarring. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's a part of the same scene.
That's my feeling.
Yeah.
So, I think this is then a good example of maybe the painting is good, but I would say not up to the technique, pure technique of the others we've said are bronze.
Yeah.
It is a good example of the composition.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then it's an example of it's
How it-
failed on
how-
the maybe the
yeah.
to get a bronze on the technique and on the
Yeah.
like atmosphere. Let's say.
So you've got a great composition here, but
Yeah.
then the painting
composition, but-
has not sort of
Yeah.
reinforced the story that you're
Yeah.
trying to tell. So that's out.
Okay, so that's a yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So then we're going to.
So I think So this one, same guy, same plinth, and to me this one is a significant improvement over this one because the base and the guy feel like the same environment.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to say when we've gone from such an
Elaborate.
interesting and elaborate base that really works well in visually in shape. I mean, to something which is just a more of a just a base.
Yep.
But then it's not distracting in the,
Well, no,
the
it's
same way,
feeding
or
into the
it's-
story.
it's- yeah.
It's keeping the story contained.
So what's your feeling for this?
Well, I feel like this is bronze, and for 2 reasons. That this particular area here is really nice. Like I like that, the way that looks, the way that when you turn it, right, you get some nice glint. This is a well executed metal blade. We've got a nice piece of freehand here, and overall,
It's consistent.
yeah,
There's
it's
no
at
like
a consistent
yeah.
standard of
There's no weak
good,
part or
yeah,
something.
of
It's-
good.
Yeah.
no parts great other than, you know, this is nice freehand and well executed, the cloak, but it's consistently good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm happy for that to be
Bronze.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, so that's bronze. Cool.
And I look at them as kind of things on very.
So this one taps out.
Really.
You missed out.
Well, it's not now, but back then we definitely.
That's the edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the edge.
Yep. Cool. So this is another one by that guy, and I feel like this is similar. I want to talk about this one. Yep.
Yeah, I think so too.
Benny, just shout out if audio's no good or if the video sucks. We can make some adjustments, but it looks like it's all going okay so far. Okay, so this one's Leo bust. So there's actually this micro detailing here is actually sculpted in. That's not paint work. I had to touch it to figure that out because I thought it was paintwork, and I was like, "Ooh, that's impressive."
I can
then I-
tell. I've got the sculpting. Yeah.
So then
This one's a good example of the third thing, which is it's got like the good atmosphere and contrast, but it may be let down by the pure technique
Yep.
and the doing something with the sculpt.
So I'm not a fan of the sculpt. I feel like this hair is really poorly sculpted, but what's made this worse for me is this highlighting of the hair doesn't feel like the right for this type of volume. You know, it doesn't read as hair to me.
Well, it's a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have that, if it's such light hitting here, then why isn't it here?
Correct, and here.
And
Yeah, because we've got a light direction coming from here, and this is well executed,
Yeah.
this is well executed, but then the hair doesn't feed into
Yeah.
that. I like the blue-ish tones as we're moving down here, and I feel like that's well executed. But I feel like it's missing some saturation.
Yeah.
A very desaturated yellow, even just some more red tones to bring a bit more.
Yeah, it's missing. It's that third element of doing that creativity
Yep.
side of
Yep.
bringing something, interesting or special. I mean, it's good. It's good, but it's not. It's missing that the thing we look for.
Yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on, but it's.
Yeah, so I mean,
like whether
if I compare this to that other Space Marine dude that we're just looking at, there's
Which one are we
the, Cloak Guy, right?
Yep.
I feel like Cloak Guy is better than this because Cloak Guy feels more consistent.
Yeah, I agree. It's at least the Cloak Guy is at least the same technically, but it's more consistent.
Correct. Yep.
So if Cloak Guy is the borderline, then it has to be below. Because,
Correct.
I'm
Yeah. So this falls out. Yep.
Okay.
And it's interesting because
It's at first has a lot of visual impact on first glance.
Yeah, because you've got really high value here outside of being surrounded by this, which gives
and
you
that's
a real
that's
focus.
their strength here.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
But this lets it down, and the overall thing drops out because of that. Cool, good. So we're actually popping that. See you later, mate. Good chats. This guy, cool model from Cult of Paint.
Okay.
I've got a couple of pet peeves here that annoy me. Paper leaves.
I think we're using that marine as
Yeah.
a good benchmark at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the technical side is quite similar
Yeah.
on the figure, but the basing has some issues.
Yeah.
Like, well, the leaves, I don't care about paper leaves, but if it's such a big
If you're going to do a
leaf,
paper leaf, you've
something
got to
needs-
paint that shit,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's got to have detail. This is a big flat
It's a big
bit
feature.
of paper. Yeah.
And if you're going to put a feature like that on the base, it has to be treated the same as like
This, look at this level of highlighting here. Why haven't you got the same on that?
Yeah.
And the other pet peeve is this. Like, grab a static grass packet, stick it on, and job done. That's shit house, right? Like that. You've got to either harmonise that into the environment with like some airbrush tones to bring it together, or washes, or
if you're going to go there with those spaces, can be fantastic and add a lot, but you need to
it needs to be
commit
considered.
to the same level as the figure. Otherwise, it's
And that to me is really letting it down. I mean, this water is fine. I've seen worse water. I've seen better water. But I think the base overall is sufficiently not executed as well as this, that it drops out because of just purely on the base. If we didn't have a base here, if this was just stuck on a plinth with a flat, that's in.
Yeah.
But the base
I agree.
drops
with
it
that.
out.
I agree with that.
That's a shame because this is a nice element, right? I like that. The face is well done for a model of that scale. It's a small scale. This little robot dickhead's okay, But yeah, this is.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. All right.
That's a good one to remember as well.
Yep.
Moving forward, a good signpost.
Yeah.
May I?
Yeah, of course. Please, anytime.
So I get the sense you're not a fan of this one. Why
So yeah, okay. So I have a tendency to dislike desaturated palettes. because when you take them away from a lighting, they just drop off. They drop off the radar. And this,
Well, you may have noticed that I just took it away and looked at it in ambient lighting.
And I feel like that, if I'm not grabbed by something at first glance, if I'm not walking past and going, oh, what the fuck's that? I want to check that out. Closer look. Then I'm probably tapping out. And it could be an incredible paint job. It can be incredibly smooth, and but if there's nothing that grabs my eye initially, that's a minus. There's nothing technically wrong with it. It's well painted. I think the skin, it's difficult to do a dark elf skin. That's a well executed drow tone.
I'm not hating on it as much as you.
Yeah. So when I'm up, I think this is probably a bronze. But if this was more contrasted or more saturated, this is probably silver.
Yeah, this is a good example of, I think, we always every year end up talking about missed opportunities. I think more than anything we've looked at so far. This is one where a few small things could elevate it quite easily, but it's missing maybe. I mean, I like there's like it's kind of
little
skull thing.
Bobby
I
Dazzlers
don't
in
think
there.
it's quite as desaturated as you say. I mean, it's dark.
Yeah.
But you mean more value?
Yeah, value, but this is a grey skin tone, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of greyness in there. There's a lot of greyness in there, and then under there is very sort of dull. So the only area of real saturation is here,
Yeah, and whether that's the right.
and that's not the right focal point for me. But
I agree with that. And also, if there's this is reflecting a lot of light.
Yeah.
Well, the placement's a bit funny, but then if there was such a bright light here, there would be some kind
why is there
of
not
glint
more
on
here?
the
Yeah.
arms, or
So I think the this is a consistent issue with volumes and painting like this.
Yeah.
Where's your light source? It looks like it's here, right? So if it's here, why is this a shadow?
Yeah,
That's not a shadow.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
But it's enough. It's enough
but
of a
it's
standard
still
to bronze.
technically yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I agree with that.
Good.
That's good. That's
Good.
good.
Cool.
One to look at.
This guy, I'm interested to talk about this chap. Yep.
I'll put them at the front if we've discussed.
Yep.
I'll put them at the back.
That's good. Yep. Keep changing your mind.
They're easier to grab.
Yep.
And then I think come back and we can
Yep.
view in a minute.
So this is an interesting piece for me. So this goes to the opposite end of the spectrum from the one we just looked at, right? We've got massive contrast, possibly too much contrast on areas like this sword here, and possibly improperly done. But there's enough here of like subtlety of reflections on underneath, and
Well, I mean, it has the impact, but for me, it is a bit weak technically to give a bronze. Just things like careful, Trent.
yeah, just fine. I'll break them off.
We talked about a consistent light source a second ago, and the same problems here. There's nothing on the straps.
Yeah, the straps
here.
are nothing here.
This is a problem. This blue on the cloak doesn't make sense. Why it goes over and under. This is an issue. This zone for me. If it was going to be, where's the light? If the light's straight down, slight angle this direction, then why isn't it? The top of this sort of plate, and I don't know. It's just.
It's a good one to discuss, because I feel like when
the base needs more. We've talked about the basing. Base needs more.
Yeah. So when you look at it here, that's impactful, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the one that the opposite to that one, where I'm like, ooh, I want to look at that closer. Then when you look at it closer, you're like, there's a few technical issues here, right? There's not enough separation of the elements. This metal, it's kind of like what I would call beginner non-metallic metal. You're starting to understand it, but you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
This element, this isn't correct. Like if
Yeah.
your light's coming from the top down,
Yeah, yeah,
right,
it
it runs
should be,
down the
of course.
blade to here.
Of course.
So this area is in light.
This is the
and
brightest
This
part.
is in shadow.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the brightest part
Yeah.
there. Same with this. So what we've got is well executed shading and highlighting in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I agree.
So it drops out, but I like.
Yeah,
A lot of-
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
sure.
the-
It's like the bust we looked at. I forget which one it was, but it's got the impact, the
Yep.
lion bust.
Yeah,
It's
the
got the
lion.
impact, but it's let down the execution.
Yep.
Maybe
Cool.
on closer inspection.
Good.
All right.
Well, I think these shit space marines are bronze. I think they should drop out full stop.
Okay, well let's. From what we've said,
Yeah.
can we then?
Yeah, okay. This one's probably a discussion because that may drop out. I'll pop that over here. So we know this is a bronze.
I looked over this.
Yeah, that's a
Went
good one to
past
talk
this,
about.
So let's talk about that one.
Yep, let's do that one. That one from you now.
And
Yep, that one.
you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, because I think that's.
You want to talk about this?
Yep.
That might be a good one to talk about next compared to what we just looked at.
Yeah.
I think, or-
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. I feel that's also bronze
This one.
because and it's the opposite problem to the others.
Yeah.
Beautifully executed base,
Bring it.
shit model.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Enough
Yeah.
to talk
Yep.
about.
Awesome. So this one's a really technically proficient paint.
Yeah. So we just looked at one that had the big impact, but the technique was not up to bronze standard. I think this is really neat. I would describe this as a really high-end kind of, but maybe still gaming level kind of painting.
Yep.
Like the question here is whether we've gone across that border into, has it done enough creatively, I guess.
So I tell you what I dislike, and this is, so I'm pretty picky when it comes to basing. Snow doesn't do that.
Yeah, the snows looks funny. Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And so what snow does is it's pushed by wind, and so it butts up on one side, and you get banks of it. If it was starting to melt, you wouldn't have this chunk. You'd have lots of little sort of things, and it feels wrong. And it also doesn't read quite right in terms of the palette.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
If,
Why is
if
it? Yeah,
the
yeah.
snow wasn't there, I think this would be a much better executed base and a much more telling the right story. So
This is yeah, I think.
and this is such a cool figure, right? So I'm usually more critical on this figure because I've seen it done so many times, or this character's done so many times. But
I think, yeah, this one is a bit, sort of comes down to,
Now, it's not, you can go to meetings without a tie.
yeah, if this was a bronze, I think it would maybe be, then make it difficult to exclude so many, and that's not a reason, it's open format and all that.
Yeah.
But then,
it raises the bar a little bit. And I look, and I think this particular painter has enough pieces that's probably not going to be an issue,
yeah.
right? So
Well, I mean, but just in isolation, it seems harsh because that it's so neat and technically, it's what it's meant to be is it's done, but then we're looking at something higher, aren't we? Which is why we're saying,
I want to push.
like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong with it.
Nothing's wrong with it. We want to push
needs
more.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the spirit. I think that's everyone understands. That's the spirit of the competition here.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right, good. So let's do this
Is that a
one.
good one?
Yeah, this one's nice. So this one is a much more ambitious sort of figure than some of the others we've seen. And where it does really well is the story that it's telling and the cohesiveness of the piece. Right, you've got a very, and this is my favourite base so far. Really neat. Doesn't detract. Here's tufts done right. You know, not overpowering. Harmonised in with some airbrushes.
Well, it's painted in a consistent way with the figures, which is what I think you're saying.
I think the technical painting of the suits and this is a little bit lacking.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to have seen probably there's some nice rusting here. Maybe a bit more.
It's
of
not
that
for
sort
us
of
to
stuff.
judge, but it's a missed opportunity for
a little bit of something. I feel like this is a bronze based on how good a story it tells and how good a atmosphere you feel. But I'm interested for your thoughts.
This is a difficult one, isn't it? Because, as you said, if we were looking at it, I think technique-wise, it's a complete opposite of the last few we've looked at, where, you know, it's in isolation. I'd say technically, it's probably not the bronze standard. However, as you said, it's got something about it. So it's, you know, the color palette works really quite well with the yellow suit as the main. I think it would have worked even better actually without the blue. I think if it was just the yellow, it would have been even better.
Then you've got this kind of grayscale with this. Yeah.
But even so, it works well, and the yellow is probably the part you look at and it's quite. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm quite liking the paint work around here on the yellow. And as you say, that it's got a real sense of story, which is probably strong enough for us to overlook that, you know, what those criticisms of the technique.
And I'm not sure if these are transfers or painting. I'm pretty sure that's a transfer. But that one's definitely transfers. That one.
Oh, it does. But that's
relevant
anyway.
They're well enough integrated that you don't go, oh yeah, there's fucking transfers and that looks like shit. But yeah, this is a bronze, I think.
And it's a good example of the way
that sometimes
story composition can elevate.
It can elevate it, even if the painting hasn't hit the
standard.
Yeah. So,
agreed.
What are your thoughts on that one?
This one. Okay. What we got here? My initial impression is, while interesting, it's the technique.
You're a very
I'm
painter.
not seeing enough to let me look past the
rough
technical, their roughness, I guess.
So I'm sort of the opposite end of the spectrum from you. I'm all about impact and feel and how something evokes.
That's why it's interesting.
I think this is on the cusp, but I do think there's a few areas that let it down, and you've got some really interesting like salmon into green into teal into this sort of stuff.
The colours.
Like it's but it doesn't quite work. It's not. It doesn't. Sometimes you can see what someone was trying to do, but they didn't quite get there, and I feel like that's what that is.
Yeah. Well, we talked. We talked about the inconsistent lighting with the other bust.
Yeah.
And this is the same.
This area
issue.
should be a high.
That's right. I think maybe if that was more.
So is this? I assume this is meant to be a skull, right? So this whole area needs to be higher value.
Yes.
If this is high value, why is
and
the
up
rest
here,
Yeah.
I think what you're talking about before maybe is it because the green is so it's very saturated.
Yeah.
and I feel like maybe it sort of, this is the darker. I mean, I know that's in like the light, but these green parts are the darker side of the composition, let's say. But it then looks a bit, because the green is still so saturated, it makes it look a bit like plasticky, for lack of a better word. Like it shouldn't, you know.
So this is another varnish. This is another varnish one. Like it's interesting that this is the satiny finish is detracting from the overall appearance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And a varnish which kills all the shine, right? And potentially lessens.
If there's a judge pet peeve, it's shiny.
Yeah. Because you can't get a real read on the smoothness of the blends. It just it takes away from what you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's just distracting. Yeah.
Well, I almost backed that one.
Drops out, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think we need, from based on the other decisions we've made, I think this needs to be.
Yep. Concur. So these two and these two are bronze conversations, I think.
Do you want to do this one next up?
Yep.
Same
painter.
Same person.
Yep.
Okay. So this by the same painter, we can tell because it's got a signature on the back, even if we didn't know her.
Yeah, and also it's very shiny. So.
And it's very shiny. That's what I was going to say. So it's, although it suffers from the same problem as the previous entry, it's with the shiny shadows.
Yeah.
It's much better executed technically.
Yeah.
There's
this
a
is
big area of focus.
The color shift, right? Again, with salmon into blue green, but it feels more natural in this one.
That's right.
It doesn't feel forced.
That's right.
This is a cohesive piece.
Yeah.
There's weaknesses in the hair, I don't think, but I do think that the shininess is detracting from your ability to read that properly.
Me too.
Because
it's,
be
I
better.
mean, where it's meant to be dark, we see
A
light
light.
because it's shining,
Yep.
reflecting the light. So, but I think
That's a bronze.
there's no doubts. This
Yep.
one is in instant. You can tell, you know, it's got
And
it's got what the other one was missing.
Yeah, it might be worth
exactly what was
popping these two side by side because here is similar style, similar painting, but this one to me is a focal point. You know, you've got something that you can latch onto. This is where I want to look. You've got bright, intense red. You've got, you know, it makes sense. This one you've got a focal point here, and then you sort of there's not enough of a focal point here, and then you've got, you know, some weak executed non-metallic metal elements, whereas this is
I think
all
it's clear
consistent.
when you look side by side as well. It's very clear.
But it's interesting to see the two palettes, which are so similar, have a different impact just based on the focal point. Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
Cool. So that's good.
And this is a solid. A high bronze. I'll call it even high bronze, and even a waterline.
So let's talk about this one because I don't know if this will make the cut, but it's worth having a bo peep. So this is a nicely executed scene, and I feel like the ambience, the atmosphere is good. We've got warmth. We've got a guy walking out of a forest. It makes sense. It's a good story. The base, it's not like super strong, but it certainly doesn't detract. Where this falls down is the technical painting.
Yes. This is interesting after the yellow
buggies.
woman with
yep.
It's the same sort of mode where the composition and base tells a really strong story and is interesting. However, maybe the technical
ability on that one was enough that it was able to.
Yes, it was. The rest was enough to pull it over the line. Whereas, maybe it's not as well. The good elements might not be enough to pull this one over the line.
So if I look at this, I go, this is great. If I look at this, I go, this is great.
Yeah.
This is even okay, but this part loses me.
Yes, that's
And that's
where such an important.
That's the most important part. You know, we just don't have enough clear, defined separation of these elements. There's not enough clear sense, and it's tricky. This is a figure from a board game, so probably the detail's not as crisp as you'd like, but you've got to
Still,
work around that somehow.
And I guess if anyone's still listening, when we talk about, when I'm talking about technique, I'm mainly meaning not just smoothness. It doesn't have to be smooth, but it has to be neat, and the details need to be clearly defined and readable. And why we're down on this area is, for me, it's a bit, the painting's a bit messy. The hair's not really clearly defined from the eye and eyebrow. It's not sharp. It's not. I think everyone knows what we mean by neat.
Yeah. And whereas you look here, and this element works for me. Like, I think that's a
and while it's still rough, it's okay here. It works with what we're looking at in this zone, and even works along here.
Yeah,
it's up here where it starts to break down.
It starts, and unfortunately, this is the key part.
Yes.
If this was what happening down here, you'd probably get away with it.
Yeah.
It's a good example of a nice story, nice ambience, nice atmosphere. That's just let down by the technical painting, and I think that's a good. It's a good, interesting study. Yeah. Cool. Yep. That one.
This one.
And that one for me are bronze level. So.
Do you have a preference?
No. This one's going to break, so let's try and break that. Bulb effect.
You can hold. All right. So, as we just said over there to each other, the base, fantastic, creative, original, very interesting to look at. One of them, probably the most interesting base here in the competition.
It's a great example of like negative space and just creating visual interest by not putting things there, and even this alone is just a good different take. Really beautiful paintwork, great gradation.
Valley contrast colours. It's just interesting and cool to look at.
Yeah. I will be very blunt here. This is shithouse compared to this.
Well, and it's frustrating because it feels like it's a model painted by a different person.
Someone else
stuck onto a base. It feels like two people, and we know it isn't. Not that that's part of our job, but
and whereas this has really clear gradation and sort of a value, this it doesn't. So this is an interesting one. The value of this piece is really well done, really well executed. This is consistent, sort of draws your focus here. But then we've got a focal point here, and then the rest of it's sort of like, it doesn't feel like it's in the same environment as the base,
Yeah, it feels very dark, and the base is very light. It looks like an outdoor afternoon, full sun.
Yeah, and then here's this guy with this deep shadow like here. This
why is that so dark?
This is not a shadow here, and this yellow is the highest value piece probably in the whole top area, and I just feel this.
And it's it's just like I pulled up the previous one on just neatness and readability of detail, and this, what's happening here exactly. The sculpt, it's partly the sculpt, but you need to do something. You know what I'm talking about, Trent? That looks a bit mold liney.
That's all sort of weak area there. I think it's just missing this whole area being more, It just needs much more, because all I'm looking at is the base. That's it.
So the light's coming from above.
Yeah, this is the angle.
So
this
why is it so
area,
dark in here?
It just makes no sense.
And here, it's very dark.
If I was to be,
and it's all up here.
If I was to be super critical, I would say this drops out because of how bad this doesn't fit in with this, and this here is silver gold territory.
Oh definitely.
This is not. But
I know it's Yeah.
This might drag it into bronze, despite this.
Let's put it on the border and
Yeah.
we'll
Come back.
decide later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
And this one.
this one's one I'm interested in your take on. I've looked at this quite a few times.
You've looked at it a few times.
Yeah.
I should go back and do this, but once I've done it, kind of.
Mm.
But this was out of
I think it's. It does have. It has some of the same issues we were just discussing. I think it's. The figure looks very dark when I mean the snow is so white. There needs to be more like it wouldn't be. It's too dark for the environment. The snow wouldn't be. I don't know how you can do that. Nighttime snow, but this top part. Well, we just pulled up the last one on the lighting, and the same issues. This is all very dark up here, and along here, it's and the hair along here. It's not. It's tricky one. It's this one I would need to compare to. I'll go back and have a look at the other things we've just slid into bronze. It's a.
I have a couple of issues with it, and they're sort of weird ones. But he's obviously walking, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Why is there
right.
a giant pool of blood here? He's just been walking. There should be droplets as you
True.
move up, and that's a small thing. But this is such a noticeable element
You're right.
that it immediately jumps out to me. The second thing, and this is more of a missed opportunity than anything else. This would be so great if it was see-through. You know, like the backdrop isn't really adding anything to the story. This is awesome. This is such an interesting
Oh, the shape
element.
is great.
You know, the shape's
yeah.
brilliant.
The shape's great.
But I'm not getting enough value out of that because this is just sort of stopping it. If they could see through that, I think that would actually make it
that's
be
an interesting
significantly
point.
better.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that, but I think now that you've said it, I think, especially after we've just looked at the Boba Fett with the
negative space and creating that interest.
yeah, you're right. And maybe it would add having that.
And that'll also
you're-
help you with him because he suddenly becomes
Yeah,
a
maybe
little
that's the issue. I was finding it difficult to put my finger on it, but maybe that's the issue because it's.
See you, Riri.
It's more dark because of the dark behind
Correct.
it. Yeah. Whereas, if it, I get what
I would like the snow to be darker. Like it is too white, and snow's white. But if you look at pictures of snow, right, when there's a sunrise, the snow's tinted orange or yellow. When there's a moonlight, the snow's tinted blue or colder. So we've got this
It would have been
story.
cool to have it to tie it in a bit more somehow.
Yeah,
Like maybe
just
some
put some-
snow on the antlers or
Yeah, that
something,
could be
or
cool,
like
yeah.
just a connection, a bit more of a connection on the hoofs. Or I mean, it's very powdery snow.
Yeah.
It's stuck on everything else around,
Yeah, but not on him.
but not on here.
So having said all of that, there's enough really well executed. I mean, this is awesome, and again,
Oh, the shape is great.
similar to the Boba
That's
Fett.
true.
The base is really beautiful and awesome. These are perfect. These are from a different model, but they fit in perfectly in this story. He's walking through a gateway from a forest. It's well executed. Although probably too high value and should have looked more dead.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
well, it's fresh. It's still
yeah, it's
dripping,
fresh.
so-
It's still dripping a shit ton. But I'm losing the focus here. And
Yeah, the important zone. I know. It's
such a weird one, right? Because he's got it right here. This is executed well, but what you want is this whole area to be the highest value impact, and these things drawing
that's the
in.
part worrying me. This
Yeah.
this part up here. Yeah.
I'm on the fence, but I think if we're saying this is a bronze based on the quality of that, I think this is a bronze based on the quality of that. But I think they're both
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so yep, they're both on the cusp.
On the
shall we
cusp.
say? So we'll
Yep. Cool. Good.
decide.
So I think we're comfortable with dropping down. So we're comfortable with this is a bronze, 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 this is a maybe, this is a maybe, this is a maybe. Yep. So this is possibly high bronze silver. This is sort of probably bronze-ish. We're going to have vastly different opinions on this, so let's do this.
All right.
Bringing that over.
Well, might lead on to that.
I
was going to wait to see what you were going to say first.
I just hate
it.
Artsy fartsy, wanky, trying to be like Art Nouveau, fucking.
What has that got to do with Art
Andy
Nouveau?
Warhol, fucking just. It's dumb. I don't like it. But I think I could have liked it if it was just, maybe something.
This one's really interesting to me because of exactly that. I think it's. I like all that stuff that you just said you don't like, but
so this is such a clean sculpt, right? This has got such really beautiful volumes, and I feel like this detracts
but that's
from
why
that. It detracts
that's
from
why it's a right choice for it. It's because it's such a simple, clean sculpt. It's if you did something so adventurous with patches of color on something which was already complex, it definitely wouldn't work.
Sure.
So
if you're going to do it, it's got to be on a
something
simplistic
like
one.
this,
Yeah.
because it's adding this, detail to where it doesn't exist.
Yeah. But what's the story? Like, why?
No, well, I know.
You know what?
I think
if this was like paint splatters that someone's thrown paint on it. And you've got sort of normal painted hair, but then all these paint splatters and colours, and maybe I'm more in, but this is like just painting like this for the sake abstract. Of painting like this, yeah. And I've always struggled with abstract things. Yeah. I'm very direct.
Oh, really? Look. Let me have a really close look. Yeah, we might have an argument about this one because I think we both recognise that it could have been really, really good.
Could have been, yeah.
And for me, it's still good.
Two things I will say about it. When you walk past it, you go, "Whoa,
what's that?"
Right?
Yeah.
So it's got that thing.
It ticks a really big impact and this creativity, and I always think it's really good in a competition like this.
Yep, to grab some attention.
Creativity or an idea or something different. So
and the understanding of the volumes is perfect. Like the lighting.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
So there is a sense of it's not just
something to splash colour on it, right? There's a reason behind
it. Yeah,
But I don't think
it's not 100%.
I don't think it works enough for me to be like, I want to reward this person for this behaviour. Right?
Well,
you get what I'm saying, right?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
And I don't. Like I'm playing up a bit. I don't hate it, but I just don't think it's achieving what it's trying to achieve.
I think it's really. That's why I think it's interesting because it's very close to achieving what it's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I'm forgiving.
Yeah.
Of this style, and you're not forgiving. So because it's not totally successful. If it was a success, we would both be, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's close.
So I don't know if you remember from a couple of years ago, when the year that you won, we had a piece of a mermaid done by Natalie.
Yep.
Let me think. Yeah. It was the Craft World Studio Award. It was a very pastel, watery nebulous sort of colours on the mermaid. I'll show you later on.
Yeah.
This sort of feels like it's in that same sort of ballpark, and to me that one was a weird and out there concept that was executed to perfection, and that Craft World wanted to give them a special award because they were so impressed with Natalie's work, and it was an immediate gold for me. This one, it feels like it's trying to do something, but I'm not understanding it. Whereas the other one, I understood what was happening. It had this rippling water effect that made you look like it. I just don't understand it. It's probably still a bronze because of the execution.
Look, I'm happy with that. I think I agree with exactly what you're saying. I think it's the same thing as I was trying to say, not as eloquently as you.
I'm very eloquent, yes.
It's not success, not a total success.
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to think it's got things going for it.
Yeah.
Not just the difference in creativity, and like you said, we don't have to, just because something's different and creative doesn't automatically
make it
mean
good.
it's good.
Yeah.
But it's not haphazardly creative. There's a sense of lighting
There's a
and
purpose. Yeah.
Maybe it's missing a bit of a purpose. I think maybe that's what it's missing. But it's got a think. You can see that there's a thinking behind the placement.
Yeah.
And it's interesting enough to at least be a bronze for me.
Okay. I will accede to a bronze.
Or we can put it and come back, but I think it would be a shame to.
Yep.
Shame to say no.
Yep. All
It's
right.
got enough.
Let's encourage some balls deep creativity.
Yeah.
Eh? So this one, same painter. This is a much better executed attempt at splattering colour all over a model and making no sense to me.
Well, it's not, but it's completely different.
It is.
Though, isn't
it
it?
is.
I mean, this is just
This is not abstract.
Painted,
This
isn't abstract. It's
No,
just
this is just
unusual
colours.
colour choices.
Yeah.
And
And maybe it's because my brain can comprehend this better, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, and these cool colours.
But that's exactly why I think it's got that pushing creativity boundaries thing, which is good. I think it's, if you're gonna be
avant-garde,
if you're finding it hard to decide, I think err on the side of rewarding creativity.
Yeah, fair.
This one is crazy colours, but as I said, painted much more traditionally and fantastically.
Yep.
They are interesting, aren't they? Because you can use garish colours in
a traditional
way or in a non-traditional way. But this is, I guess, we talked about this one being maybe not a bit confusing, just not quite there, whereas this isn't confusing at all.
No. I like a lot of things. There's a subtle green glow happening up here, and the pink beard, and this is all sort of well executed. This is possibly pushing into silver territory for me.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. It's at least it's solid silver.
Yep. Okay.
Something
cool. All right, let's grab some other of our bottom of our bronzes. So that's our silver category. So this one's probably silver to bronze. So we're in bronze here. Yep. Don't tell Dave I just broke one of his models. I just bumped his little... That's okay. It's only an Emperor's Children. It's only a space marine.
before talking about his models getting...
David, I broke your model. Sorry, mate. So just this little Empress Children. I snapped one of these things. I'll fix it later. Very, very minor. Punch me later.
Easy.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe.
I mean,
Let's look. Let's check.
okay.
Yep.
This we said. What did we say no to?
We didn't say no to that one. We didn't even include that one.
I know, but
You think they're in?
no. Well, I think we need to just
Sure.
look at these and look at that and see.
Oh, so I've grabbed this one because I'm not a Space Marine guy.
Me neither. Look out, all Space Marine painters.
It's a bronze for me for the same reasons the Orc bike was. We've got some weaker silver elements, and you've got a clear focal point. You know, this is a clear.
Yeah, like the Orc bike, technically everything that's painted there is technically really good.
Yeah.
In terms of the lighting and smoothness and definition of the detail, the micro painting.
This is neat and fine.
It's all neat.
It just doesn't wow me. I'm just not grabbed by it.
Yeah, well, I know that the black is. I think maybe a lot of I know you can't always turn around and point to every element, but there's a lot of black dead kind of zone for me. It's just too dark. I understand the thinking behind it, but it's too flat. It looks something needs to happen in here. Why is there nothing? It's just
nothing.
not. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's so much light in this
Yeah.
area that it makes no sense that this whole space has got nothing.
And even the front here, there is some light, and I'm sensitive to the fact that it's meant to remain black rather than get over highlighted. But it looks dead compared to this zone. Would you agree with that, Trent?
Yeah. No, this is a bronze because of this being really, really muted and this silver
this
elements.
part too. This needs to be more action up here. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, look there.
I'm ambivalent towards Space Marines in general, right? And this one's fine. And I sort of put most of these little Space Marines in the same category, right? There's
Another one.
Yep. This one's a better example, right? Because you've got a good example of focal points. See how this white is brighter than this white? Perfect, right? You're drawn to this section. So I'm supportive of this. I just, the red is very flat, crimson. The silver on these pieces are more greyish. Doesn't read as metal.
I'm missing some. The white is so bright and nice here
Yeah.
and here that I'm missing some of that light
Around there. Yeah.
the face, and I mean, skin is reflective too.
Yeah.
And the fur, it's sort of, we talked before about this being the most important part, and it feels like this is too bright in front of the face.
Yeah, so I'm bronze for both of these. This is nice though. I like this element.
Oh, look! As we said, it's
Technically proficient.
The technique is excellent, but it's similar issue. It's in person, it's a bit flat.
Yeah, let me actually grab the other Space Marines because I think we're probably all the Space Marines are floating down in that area for the same reason. So there's that one. This one. Yep. And it's not just because we hate Space
Have we
Marines.
got an example of one that's...
Well, this is another one of Dave's that's a similar sort of scale that I think is a much better example. Let's grab this. So this is
This is when it's
Yep.
the same.
That's the same as the
Yeah.
others, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just bronze, bronze, bronze.
Yeah.
So this is another example of the same painter's work, but this
Yeah.
brown, even though it's dark, it feels right because it adds to the impact of this. This is a clear focal point.
Yeah, it's brighter. Like the marine we looked at, the face was too dull.
Yeah.
Whereas it's full of life here, and there's a lot of interesting action
Yeah, look
going
at
down
that. That's
here.
beautiful,
And, you know,
beautiful. And this is a perfect, you know, really interesting.
there's lots to look at.
Yeah.
There's colour.
Spots
There's
of-
no obvious like dead area like the
And
were
then
in the Marines.
this red, it's neutral. It's not probably.
It's a bit subtle for my
Yeah, would like to
taste.
see maybe a tiny
Maybe
few
more
more.
light or something.
But yeah,
But this is
overall,
nice. You know, like the fur
Yeah.
before was dull, whereas this is
beautiful
interesting.
elements here. Like
Yeah,
that's
very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I mean, this is an example of if the Space Marines would like this, fucking hell,
Yeah,
just giving
yeah,
out
yeah,
Space
yeah.
Marine
That's what
awards
was
everywhere.
missing. This is what was missing
Yeah.
from the Space Marines. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we'll come back to this. For me, this is probably in the gold conversation. So, but yeah, that's a one for another one. So yeah, that one's also the same, and that's outrageous. So I think this is a good one to move to because it's another gaming scale piece. So what's your feelings on this? Because I feel this is a bronze, maybe high bronze, low silver.
Well, I feel like I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
it's borderline bronze.
Yep.
Because only because of
Oh, no, thank you.
other things, other
Yeah,
entries
yeah.
we've already eliminated. We picked hard on a few entries recently for the base not being consistent with the
Yep.
figure, and this is,
Great.
from
See,
my
this-
angle at least, it's
we've
yeah.
got a very green, red, neutral,
red,
earthy,
and not much light,
and then all of a sudden
and a
we've
lot of bright light,
Yep.
and blue and
and
gold.
blue and colder colours.
It's like
cold gold.
this elf is standing in a different place to the base.
yeah.
They're not connected in any way.
Yeah. I like the composition.
The composition is nice. I like the shape. All the shape of
Yeah.
everything is
Yeah.
good. I think maybe it's a bit. Well,
I would have
it's
liked this
fine.
to go
I'd like
higher.
that to either go higher or maybe go in the same direction
Oh, yeah,
as the
the
elf or
sword,
something. It
yep.
looks a bit funny the way it's going in the opposite direction, but that's by the by.
This is a nice texture, some nice micro details. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the painting is pretty good on the
Swords
figure.
okay.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's a
miniature.
small figure,
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
well
that
done on
probably
such a small
that
miniature.
probably plays
Yeah.
into falling into bronze.
I'm okay with. I'm just the only, as I said, the thing making me hesitate is a couple we've
Yeah,
pinned
yeah.
out of bronze
Yep,
for
yep.
similar reasons. So we'll put this. We'll compare. Yeah.
Right, so that one we pinged out for.
Okay, and sure. All right, and then well, looking at this, then if that just missed out, then this should definitely make it in. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, because this base is it's a well done base.
It has the
It's a
issues we've
well-done
just
model,
discussed, but it's
but it's a standard that's
it's
good.
Yes. Yeah.
This one's a well done model with a very poor base.
Yeah.
That lets.
I
it
guess
down.
that those critiques are more how it would move up the medal table more
Yep.
than whether it deserves a medal.
Yeah, so I think.
Okay,
I think
bronze. Okay, yeah, I'm happy.
Crudy boy. Yeah, this is fine. This is probably bronze.
He's a Lego.
Yeah, I popped that back over there so we could easily see it, so we wouldn't lose it. Yeah, yep, just pop
I
it
thought
there.
that I was like that's.
That's the bit I broke.
Yeah.
Dave's gonna kill me.
Um. Yeah, that's okay.
This one was the opposite problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that.
If I do a cost calculator in Archie, I'll try and save this LYS file, so that way you can import the model into Lightroom and it fixes to the supports that I can show you the supports only to you. So that way you don't violate any working in a D2
I'm happy to have a discussion about that. I don't think that makes it in because of a few compositional issues.
If that's, I guess that's just got an edge. And
Yeah.
this we're going to talk about. Those we're going to.
But yeah, we're talking
Yeah,
about
alright,
those.
alright.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, here's two more that fall into the.
And this. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we say about this?
The base, snow makes no sense, painting's good.
Did we say no?
Yeah, we said no. Yeah. That's possibly at the bottom end of the no. All three of these, same guy. All three of these, cohesive, fine, strong painting.
They have a
Presence.
sense of cohesion that has been missing from a lot of the others, and that's it's really quite striking when you see them. They just look like
Right
a
environment.
whole.
Yep.
It's not a figure on a base; it's
Yep.
a whole thing.
Yep.
Then all three of them are like that, especially these two.
Yep.
Um,
This is true metallics, and I'm not a fan of how it's been executed. I think some of the little parts, like these little bits, is just very flat and uninteresting. This area is really
Yeah.
weak.
this is the weakest of the three.
Yeah,
In
agreed.
my opinion.
The base is very nice.
Can I see the?
Yeah. I'm probably tapping out on this one, even though you've got a couple of really, like, this is a well painted face, really nice face.
It's good, but I don't think it's strong enough.
Yeah.
To
So great, but weaker, and again the focal point's lacking. Where do you? I'm drawing
Yeah.
straight here,
yeah.
so I'm out.
Yep.
These two, this is a bronze, I think. I have a few concerns with the volumetric highlighting.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and
Yeah.
it's the first thing I look at as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the execution of the shadows, the lights,
Yeah.
the contrast.
Yeah,
is-
it's it's another good example of while the technique, there's some technical flaws, but it's got a impact, which
yeah.
makes up for that.
Yeah.
It's like it looks cool and interesting and cohesive, and that's
Rule of cool. It looks
that's
cool.
The most important thing.
Yeah. That's bronze. I'd be interested in discussing this as a silver personally. I think this is really nice, this area. This beard's nice. We've got a clear focal point. Love this. Love this whole feeling. This is a little weaker. But it's possibly a silver for me.
Yeah, look, it's. Let's put it. It's in the metal, so let's put it down
Borderline.
and we'll
Yep.
discuss it
Yep,
looking at
cool.
the others.
All right. So can we make any sweeping moves?
Accusations.
Yeah, sweeping accusations.
I think we can. Make it
So I feel like this is probably just missing out.
yes.
Yep. And I feel like
And are we saying this is easy or?
I'm okay with like dropping that out. I don't know that it's like I'm not interested enough in it.
Oh, no, that's all right. Yeah, no, that's nice of course.
If that's in, that's in.
I'm just deciding. Is it? This is better, but it's got a few.
Yep.
Shine.
Yeah, shine.
But I just think your words would be
This one's close.
I think I'm going to say drop it out because I think so. Yep, I think so. So I'm comfortable with these.
Yeah, they're all definitely. We haven't looked at
Yeah, let's do that one. These two are cusp. We're in. We're good. Yep. Cool. All right.
Let's. What else?
Oh, this could be a bronze.
Yeah.
This
Let's-
could be a
let's
bronze.
look at that.
Yeah. I think these other ones here are potential bronzes, and these are all bronzes. We can track these bad boys down. This I think is possibly bronze.
What about these?
Yeah, yeah, they could both be bronze. I think. Yeah.
That's quite good. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's grab. We'll do this one now because I think this is a good big piece. All right. This is a very big piece. So if we can't get it fully into focus, suck shit.
Consult the photographs afterwards.
Yeah, we'll be taking photos so you'll be able to see it. So I believe this is based on a piece of artwork. I haven't got the piece of artwork to reference to, but it looks like that's
Well,
the case.
I'm not familiar with it.
No.
I believe it if now that you've said it, I can see that it probably would be, but it doesn't really matter.
doesn't matter
It looks
because it
like
looks cool.
it's a scene. There's
Good
a
atmosphere,
story. There's
really
good atmosphere.
consistent, cohesive atmosphere.
I really like the way the two
Yeah,
Tyranid heads are like cut off, just coming in from
So
each side.
I actually
That's really cool.
we did a little stream yesterday and we pulled this one over and I actually said exactly that. The fact that they're cut off, it really creates a really good composition. The narrative is really
It
strong.
gives you much more sense of them, like a
Feeling
sense of them
pressed
coming
in.
in.
Yeah.
And like there's more out
Whereas
there.
if you had the whole body here, all of a sudden, it's sort of
you'd have a big dead
it's just a
area
big thing.
and
Yeah, it's a really
the head's the only important part.
interesting
Yeah.
observation. The painting is executed well enough that I don't see any elements that stand out as not fitting in or feeling right. I mean, this basing here is a nothing, right? That's a naff element, but it's not really detracting.
We talked early on about everything being lit the same, and that whereas things should be more focused, especially if you're trying to create a narrative. So yes, it's got some dead areas and some. If you look behind things and under things, stuff hasn't received much attention. But it's sort
looking at it from
that's
that
not
angle.
trying to do that. It's not trying to be a single miniature where you could look underneath and around and for technique in that way. It's a composition piece.
Anytime you're doing a backdrop, you've got to execute it because it's a big element. This is not well executed for me. It's a bit under.
Yeah, I think it's. If it wasn't there, it would detract. It's adding something. The shape of it being there.
Yeah.
And the color palette.
Yep.
It is adding. It could have been really cool. It could have added a more than it's adding.
So if we had some sharper sort of building shapes here, and then this is a bit more diffused and a little bit more obvious about what it's supposed to be. It just looks like
some more signs of a battle raging or something. Yeah.
A diffused thing that's creating an ambience, but not really adding anything to the story.
Yeah.
I think this is possibly silver territory because
I agree. I think it's super strong on composition.
Love this gloss element.
Yeah.
Like this is a contrast. You see that gloss and it sparkles and you're like, oh, cool, and compare it to the matte. That's when you are consciously using a glossy element versus the gloss and the shadows.
Oh yeah. It's totally completely different. Yeah. I think it's super duper strong on composition and cool factor and like we said the heads coming, all that
tightness,
stuff. But to go up, I have comfortable with silver. To go up, it would need to have some more special painting elements, and there's nothing super special in terms of the
it's
painting.
just all
like
consistently solid, right?
Yeah.
But
if we really had something really super special going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
here, or
Like
it
some
could be
modelling on
like
this.
right at the front. Like
Yeah,
then
yeah.
maybe we'd be like
Yeah,
it could be right up
and
there.
I feel like there's probably edge highlighting that's been missed. That's in the sake of time and getting it
Yeah.
getting it
Oh,
done.
and that's fine.
But yeah, it's a silver for me. I feel like that's a silver entry and a cool
yeah.
one.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is a piece that I am going to say bronze. It does, the light helps it
yeah.
pop a little bit.
So, if we're saying bronze, and everyone following along at home, all of
like,
thousands and thousands of you, think we're insane, it's because in the camera and the lighting is adding a lot of light and shadow, which isn't there in reality. Is that the right way to put it, Trent?
Yeah, look at that. That's just flat, almost blue. Now, if you had really bright lights, I'm sure you'd pick up a lot of little details and nuance, but you've also got to accept that when your pieces are looked at, they're not going to be looked at in perfect lighting conditions in perfect times always. If this whole figure was just this,
oh, of course,
it'd be
fantastic, you know, and it's. Well, I was about to say that it's doing what it's setting out to do, but I think that the problem is it hasn't quite, because it's fantastic from one camera angle, but we're not judging from one camera angle, we're looking at the whole thing. And on the table, you can't help but turn and look at the rest of it, and if you're not going to, I mean, it's not completely untouched, but if you're not going to go there, then why not just have a flat miniature? Like, it doesn't, why choose this figure if you're not going to bother with the rest?
I tell you what lets it down for me is the horns, right? So here's this lighting, a clear lighting focal point, and it's obviously coming from this direction, and yet these horns.
Yeah, why did they miss out?
And what sort of element is it? What are they made out of? Because, you know, like, different surfaces reflect light differently, right? Skin obviously is a high thing. Is it bone? Is it wood? And if it is either of those two things, then I just, both of the way that's been constructed doesn't feel right. This gold element is awesome. Like, it is really bang on. Why is this not that same?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and so, like, if you're going to lean into this focal point of this, I feel like it's got to be this as well.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
why did we miss it?
And then possibly
Plus, what about the snake?
The snake, and then maybe
Such an
here as
interesting
well.
part. Yeah.
And you can see there's some.
Apple.
Yeah, and it's.
No, I didn't even see the snake and apple till just then. So.
It's you know, and I'm obviously probably more critical on David than others.
He can take it.
He can take it, but I do feel like in the hand it isn't. So we were chatting this morning. I said this is the one I'm like, oh, this isn't as cool as I thought it was in the photos.
Yeah. It's a good example of a real, like, a photography piece.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
then this isn't a photography
No,
competition. We're looking at these
correct.
things in real life, so we have to judge it that way.
So I'm going to say bronze.
Yep.
It's still, I mean, it's still strong enough to be bronze, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
easily,
look,
easily
yeah.
metal.
But I can't go above. Yeah, I agree. I had the same.
So we've got these other potential bronzes, and then we start getting into silvers and golds. I don't like the subject matter.
You don't.
No.
You don't like
Nah,
leprechauns
well,
or whatever he is?
Why is he a Christmas leprechaun? What an idiot. This is awesome. Like, this whole element, the way it's been highlighted, the value shift. I just think this. So when I look at skin tones, right, I want to see the skin tone feeling like a cohesive element. It's all one piece. And when you see skin tones that have little broken down segments of skin with, like, sharp highlights and sharp shadows, you're either talking about a heavily wrinkly face, or you've done something wrong. and I'm
Yeah.
I'm
So
not,
why is there such a sharp
yeah,
demarcation
why is that?
there
Why is
and
that such a
here
shadow?
and here?
You know,
Yeah.
this is a very deep shadow for what is essentially a shallow line. It's actually done better here, right, in this area where that's better execution of a skin being one singular volume. And so I get this area and I go, I don't think that reads
Yeah,
as skin.
this is the problem area here, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's clear that that's an intended focal point, and that's the type of
Yeah,
thing.
and yes, and it is, but
But you've got to
the
execute it
danger
right.
of a focal point is that everyone's going to look there and
Yeah.
judge it harshly.
So I think that the red is fine. Maybe it could be a little bit higher value. It's always a hard colour to do. The green is really awesome, probably my favourite element. But I just lose this element from being
Well,
realistic.
yeah, it's
looking.
very. I mean, it's also we talked a bit before about consistent light, lighting, and again, it's why is it so dark here, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't be, and the neck needs it. I know neck's a bit
possibly
boring, but
even
needs a bit
here,
of something.
Even here,
yeah.
that line there.
Um,
I mean, I think it's
look,
probably
it's good.
bronze.
Yeah, it's
Probably bronze. I actually like. If you took the head off this, I think it was a really good. I just don't like the face. Chop its head off. Off with his head.
yeah, it's a yeah. Put it on the.
Bronze?
What are you thinking, bronze?
Yeah, it's probably bronze. But I'd be happy to drop it off and say no, because
it's
you can do better, and I know you can do better, because
yeah.
you've shown me here you can do better
Yeah.
than this.
I think it's like it's good. It's got a lot of impact. It's good, but because it's quite simple,
No room
we're
for
going to
error.
be really
Yeah,
nitpicky
no
about
room
it.
for error.
Yeah, so that's what it's the danger
I'm
here
tapping
of
it
an
out.
entry like that.
Piss off,
Put it
Christmas
right-
goblin.
Put it all right on the edge. Are you going to make a decision on that?
It's done.
It's done,
Christmas
okay.
goblin sucks. This guy. So, tell me about your bias. Tell me about
Well,
your bias.
that's a negative bias because when you sculpt something, for those that don't know, this is I sculpted this.
What's this guy's
last-
name? Rat and Aviator.
His name's
Aviator and Rat.
Radley and Belarus. Let's not go off on too much of a tangent.
Moonface.
It's a negative bias because I'm hypercritical of my own figures, but I'll look past that. I'm sure I think I can be impartial. It's almost the. Can I,
Yeah.
Do you mind?
No, I do not at all.
It's almost the reverse of what we just looked at, isn't it? Because I think the focal area is much better executed.
Agreed.
Without those.
So you've got a
issues.
clear it's a sculpt that you want some texture. You want the sharpness of the lines because it creates the
It's
skin.
a craggy face.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't have. There's lots of crags here, but it doesn't have any sharp.
No, there's no
kind
sharp
of-
light. All of a sudden, bang!
Yeah.
Here's a highlight for no reason.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Also, well, do you like that little touch of the glossy?
Yeah. And the eyes.
That's
are
always
glossy.
fun.
Yeah.
The eyes are nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'd like.
I put this over here because I thought the face was great. I was like, this is a
Yeah,
great
yeah. I know what
element.
you're gonna say. Yeah. The
Rest of it isn't it that? I mean, this is
Agreed.
fine.
This face is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good. Really like it. Need a bit more
More.
something.
Just a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got. I mean, there's some texture painted in, but it's missing the same. There's such nice lighting and
Yeah.
sense of volume going on,
And also,
color
and also
tones.
warmth. Warmth.
Warmth and
yeah,
nice
redness and
richness.
richness. And this is not.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Whether we need some orange, brown, really warm, saturated orange, leathery colours in there, or this cream to be more of a yellowish tone, but just it feels
Well,
like.
why is it so
Yeah.
flat and sort of missing that life?
Like the
down here?
face is almost probably gold standard for me, and the rest of it is off. So
Yeah, well, too. If we spin and
Yeah.
You know, it's flat on the top. It's very
Yeah.
flat up here. And you know, gets less and less good
Yeah.
as we look at
Yeah.
the back.
Yeah.
That's, you know, not the end of the world always for a bust, but
Your call. What do you think?
Was that that one that you did a while ago?
I think, as you said, I think the face, well, it's super strong, but is it strong enough to
Elevate the rest of
Elevate.
it into a medal.
Let's put this.
Cusp.
Yeah. Oh, does it? Definitely deserves a medal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Cusp of bronze to silver.
yep, I agree.
Cool.
Agree.
This Cthulhu lizard head. Yeah, yep,
These
yep.
are a similar vein, I think.
Yep. Actually, we can probably do all three of these because these are all alien heads.
Yeah, right.
Hey, get that alien head as well.
Let's get all that.
Alien City. You fucking idiots. Look at these alien blobbers. Blob, 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 blob.
That one too.
Yep. Old alien heads. Look at that.
Let me just grab it.
There's a water bottle for you there, buddy. if you want one.
Oh, thank you.
Crazy aliens, eh?
Okay, starting with the
Cthulhu. Choo choo. Where this? I mean, so I didn't actually. So I've walked past this a number of times and I haven't picked it up. And I was always looking at it from this direction. And when I turned it to here and I see all this
Gets much
red,
more interesting.
yeah, it's much
Yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah.
We've sort of got the opposite problem that we've got on the skin tones here for me, and that is you've got clear wrinkles, you've got clear things that should have demarcations.
Yeah, they need to be.
They
picked
need
up.
to be
Yeah,
lines,
this time,
right?
Yeah.
This is the opposite problem. There's texture, and you're not reinforcing that texture. Particularly in this heat, like
Yes.
this is a deep shadow. Should be a really deep shadow, and yet we're getting more of a pastel vibe in there.
Yeah, there's such texture to work with.
Yeah.
It's the problem with this bust.
Yeah.
And also because it is all texture, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
the bust is.
You've gotta
you know,
be-
the
you've gotta be
concept.
comfortable with
we
that.
we haven't mentioned concept for a while, but what's the whole concept here is monster texture, isn't it?
Yeah. I would.
I really like the color palette though, and
Yeah. But I wanted a third color introduced. All right, there's these little ploppy things, whatever they do, on these tentacles, and so we've got the green and the red light. I feel like there should be another, and I default to purple here. There's some secondary colors happening, just to create some more visual interests and nuances that'll then almost, you could go from green into purple into the red, like, and it could create some sort of.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could go that way. I think I like just the green and red, but I take your point that something needs to happen.
Yeah.
So whether it's a different kind of, I don't know, if you don't want to change hue, you could change value. You could go really dark, like
Yeah.
kind of black
Yeah.
up here, or different lighting reflection or something. But
Yeah.
what you're saying is it just needs to be something
It's just-
different
yeah,
needs to happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting one for focal point, right? Because your eyes are here in this deep shadowed area. Your focal point's almost invariably going to be this melon head, and that's a tricky one. You're then adding a second light source, which adds a second focal point, which is always a challenge. And I just don't know that it's quite landed on.
Yeah.
Here is the texture. Here is the light source. Here is what I'm trying to do. It's a cool idea, and it's starting to be executed. But this is a prime area right here, right?
Yeah, you're right.
That is a light, and it's not. It's deep red into light. Because if the light's coming from below, there's no red light here at all.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing.
So I'm probably saying out.
Yeah, it's a. I like it, but
Yep.
it's a missed opportunity. It's going in the right direction,
Yeah.
and
Just needs more time.
yeah,
More
yes,
time.
okay, yeah. Yeah, right.
So that's an out. Yellowhead. Love it.
Yeah, it's got that instant
Yeah.
visual impact.
Popping makes me happy. Like it just makes me happy to look at this little yellow frog dude with his gills and his boogly eyes.
I'd like, if we picked, yes, this is the, unfortunately, it's such the important part and the weakest part, which is
Yeah.
frustrating.
So if your viewing angle is sort of top down like this, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. This is mad.
This is the good part, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
this is awesome. This is beautiful, saturated yellows and intense and nicely done volumes and stuff. But this is how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Like this. And so this part you want to be your focal area. You need really nicely, sharply defined teeth and probably some more light here and.
Yeah, and that's what's will hold this one back. It's I think it's medal worthy.
Yep.
But it can't go up the medals because of it needs that. We talked about.
Yeah.
We just looked at the Cthulhu bust. Needed something more to happen.
Yep.
This one's the same. It needs something more to happen in the.
I rate this pretty significantly higher than the Cthulhu bust because.
It's better. Yeah. It's better executed, but I think it's the same.
So I
similar
think bronze. I think if this was done better, this would be silver.
Yeah, it's close. It wouldn't take a lot of work for this to go up to silver.
Yeah, agreed. Good little dude.
Yeah.
Cool. Another alien blue thing with its thing.
It's like a dragon, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
whatever
not
it
an alien.
is.
Sea dragon.
A lot of lovely colour shifting, like scales of
Yeah, this one actually gets more interesting the closer you look at it.
a lot of lovely little micro textures there.
I really like the micro painting around here too. There's a lot of really small bits and different colours and interesting definition. For me, we just talked about teeth. The teeth is
Yeah, that's weak.
The teeth are the issue.
That, yeah.
I don't know why they're like that.
Yeah. That's a missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity.
It's a silver, I think, though. Silver for a silver dragon. Yeah, it's just there's enough of really interesting, cool stuff happening. I mean,
yeah, the light's good. It's a good case of at first being but then the more you look, the more this is a really good part here. It's it's green and then it's blue.
Do you know
and
what I
purple
think?
and,
So this is a somewhat contrary to some of the other things you said before, but I'd like an element that jumps out as not immediately fitting in with everything. Whether this tongue is like an orange colour, a warm colour, or just
it's almost it's too homogeneous.
too
like
homogeneous. You just need something that pulls your gaze a little bit.
Or like the teeth.
Correct. Yeah, the teeth.
Yeah.
And this is a magenta, whereas the rest of it's sort of more blues and greens. But I just think it needs to be more, really
agreed.
like jumping out. But I'd be silver, high bronze.
Yeah, it's maybe just silver.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Aliens. I love that.
It's a cool bust.
I love it.
I like the color palette. It's got our pet peeve, the shiny shadows again, but I'll try and look past that.
I'm judging your model right now. No medal.
What's cool is, like we just said about the dragon, it's got that missing, like bony, a different color around here, just like we wanted for the dragon. So that's a big tick.
Love this stuff. Love this little these little.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a big
love the
kind
modelling, the patterning.
Yeah.
I mean,
The patterning it's good. It's not.
Doesn't
It could
feel
be stronger.
perfect, yeah.
It's. I think the way it doesn't quite make sense to me. The way it's dark with a lighter, like smaller blotch
Yep.
inside.
Yep.
So it's like kind of a dark edge with a lighter
What
center.
what
and it
should
looks a
happen?
bit
You
funny.
should have lighter models up here and then darker models down here. Which
Well, I
sort
don't
of
know if
happens,
it's
but
meant to be like that though, because if you look on the head, see it's all. So it's maybe it's meant, but either way, it doesn't quite work for me. But it's still pretty cool.
I am sort of low gold, high silver territory for this. That's how I feel about it. I think it's really cool. Like it just pops off the table. Great colours, interesting. I mean, I have some issues with the volumes. This should be here, and this is probably a bit dark. And this should be probably lighter based on this light here. And
Well, they're the
little
issues
things.
which would
Silver.
make me hesitate.
Yep.
So, yeah, for sure a silver.
Yep. Cool.
We'll put it, and we can always,
Yep.
when we're looking at golds, we can return
Yep. So I'm on.
the next one.
I'm on probably gold for this. For
Yeah,
similar
well,
reasons.
it's slight. The issues we just mentioned
Yep.
have been addressed here. So
Yep.
a similar concept for a piece with a one. I've seen this before, and my big problem is the teeth. I don't know.
Purple?
I don't know why they're not
Yeah, why aren't they sharply?
more sharply differentiated or something.
Look at this. This is awesome.
But this
right?
part's
This
so
is
fantastic.
So good.
Yeah,
And then you got these purple teeth.
yeah. But they're flat as well.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is
Yeah.
really great.
I'm probably.
The markings are really cool.
modelling.
You know, the
green into blues.
yeah.
Nice. Makes sense from like a natural perspective, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this is
yeah,
the
yeah.
underside, so that's darker modelling than the top, which
Yeah.
is lighter modelling. Makes total sense. Like how these oranges are different, but still
yeah,
tied
that's
together.
interesting.
You know?
It's a different material.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and you can feel that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just well executed.
Yeah.
That's a gold. I think that's probably a bar
Yeah.
setting gold.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yep, cool. This one is I'm not going to talk too much about this because I think it's probably a bronze. It's fine. Everything's well done. Everything's nice. I don't think the painting elevates it into silver territory. I think the composition's good, but I don't know that the composition's great. You know,
It's a bit square for me.
Yeah,
It's a bit like,
yeah, this is too much.
yeah.
This doesn't really add any value, but it's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's too. Yeah, we talked about a base being too big before. It's, for me, it's the same issue.
Shark's got not a lot happening. Skin tones have got not enough contrast. Metals are fine. Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah,
Solid,
I think it's a bronze.
good
but,
solid
yeah.
bronze. Yeah.
Alright.
So, all right, we're starting to get there. So we're happy with these bronzes.
Okay. We're saying they're just right?
Yep.
I've been really consistent.
I lean towards yes because I feel like there's.
We're going to leave it to
Well, let's
what numbers wise.
So put these two side by side, right? I'm more engaged by this story than this one.
Yeah, you're right. That's a one.
Yeah. This one, the base is great, but that just really, that's a no for me because of how bad.
Yeah, okay.
You on board with that or? Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I mean, there's no way you can justify it.
So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Good with that. Good with that. They're all obviously fine. This is dumb, but yep. So this we're in the silver. We're in the silver. I think I'm happy with this. This is silver. We haven't done that yet. I think this one's a silver. These two are silver. Cool. All right. And I think this is silver or potentially gold. So let's discuss that one. Yeah. So let's look at these two because these are two. interesting one. And actually, we'll do this one.
What about
first.
this one?
Yep, and that one. Yeah, good call, good call. All right.
Do you want to look at Concrete Man? What was that? What was that?
Ooh, yeah, bring them over because they're all strong compositional bases and stuff. This is probably just a bronze. Maybe not actually because this is weak. This is all weak here.
Yep, it's getting there, but it's just there's not a good sense of
huge focus in punch and contrast, but then all of this is just a nothing for me. I mean, so leather, right? When leather, you see the lines in leather because it's cracking and bending in one direction. It doesn't just bend on the edge. You have much more.
Well, there's just not a good sense of volume or light or.
Yeah. And the hair.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. You can have a focal point in the face. It will be because it's so just the color of it anyway. Without sacrifice. I mean, and you can still have light in other areas without sacrificing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and that's what hasn't been understood properly with this bust. I guess it's like exactly as you said. It doesn't make sense with the face. There's no reason for it.
Yeah.
It's just
weak.
I mean, it's not badly painted. It's not bad.
It's quite weak, right? Because it's almost just flat colours with one light colour highlighting.
And this could have been. Could have been really great if it had a bit more life and light. It could have been a sort of secondary area of focus, something
if you
really
just
cool.
put the head on a base, I'd probably give him a medal, but that's...
that's what I mean. It's almost...
I'm saying no.
In the same way that I guess we've said like a figure on a base has been the figure, which is the head in this case, is good, but the base is loaded down.
All right, so we've got some interesting ones here. So I find this to be a really strong composition, but I do find it to be a bit destructive. This is sort of pulling, the model's not getting lost, but it's a distraction, distracting from the figure.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that it's an interesting thing for a miniature to be kind of in a forest, like buried a bit.
Not the focal point for a change, like challenging what we're used to seeing.
However, it's hard to not to kind of feel like you have to push aside or look in or. I mean, maybe that's not a bad thing, but it's go.
The painting doesn't wow me on the figures, but what you do get is this. Hey, punch you in the face. Here's your focal point. Here's your value.
Definitely got a focal
This is it. And so you could sort of almost get past all these things in the way because you're just straight into that, looking at that first up.
But they're talking about now.
Yeah, but then why are they here? It's it's it almost feels like missed opportunity is the word of the day, but like it's a base for another figure for me or something,
something
or
a
like
bit
something
taller.
a bit.
Yeah, something's got a bit more.
I know
presence.
it's meant to be kind of in the trees, but
it's well executed base. The problem is the base is what I'm most interested by on this figure.
Yeah, me too. The painting, if the painting was fantastic,
we'd get
it's a different story, but there's nothing. What's going on here? There's not much.
Yeah.
Again, definition of details. Here, this part's good. Everything else is not. It's hard to see what the details.
Although this black line separating the beard and the thing is too harsh.
I hadn't seen that angle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too sharp for that.
Yeah, sort of the same with the dog is very
Dog's
a
flat.
bit flat, dull. Where
This is-
again,
this
it's a missed opportunity for
Yeah.
like a second focal point. Like, why not have?
Yeah, the dog's face should be as
Yeah,
bright as his.
yeah.
I actually think this probably drops out of the metals for me. Like the base is the strongest element.
Well, so we've just decided Boba Fett is possibly missing out because the base is so good.
Yeah. This is better than Boba Fett in terms
The
of
base isn't as good.
the base isn't as good, but the model's better.
The model's better, and the base isn't as good.
Yeah.
So does that equal the same thing?
Probably. Like
It's very close, one way or another.
I would prefer to err on the side of ruthlessness when it comes to the figure. If we put that alongside another bronze figure, is that on the same level? For me, no.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
And then the base is great, but we're of the opinion it's not enhancing.
Correct.
The
It's,
figure.
it's not
So
making the
then
figure
how
better.
can we
so how can you
justify
say
it?
it's
Yeah.
the base elevated into a metal?
Yeah.
So I think it's a no.
Yeah, it's a series of good. There are lots of good things here, but they're not coming together.
Doesn't
to,
create a cohesive
yeah,
whole.
Yeah.
And it'll be. Let's grab the panda because I think this is an example of that being executed differently and working better. So the painting's strong,
Yes.
the atmosphere is strong, and the base feeds into the story that it's telling.
Yeah, the base, well, you know, it's not the strongest base we've seen in terms of technical painting, but it's enhancing the figure. It's not.
And this is like Paper Leaves done better because you've got shift. You've got a change in the based on where they are and what light's hitting them, and it looks, they don't look unfinished like the other ones did. They look cohesive and as a part of the element. And
Yeah, well, the lighting's not different on the
Correct.
base and the
Yeah.
figure. It belongs
and
together.
I really like the ambience. I really like how well the warm feeling comes across. It's like this little panda getting up early at dawn and practicing his little kung fu skills, or what's going on there. But it's well executed in pretty much every way. I particularly like these green elements, like the little underglow there is well executed. Always tricky with a model with a hat to get the eye line right. But I think he sort of gets away with it because this is good, and this here, it draws you in.
Yeah, in the painting, it's consistent. The whole figure's consistently painted,
Yeah.
so, and all to a good level.
Yeah. I actually like this for gold.
We might have an argument.
Cool. Let's go. Okay, let's go. There's
Definitely up for silver.
Yeah. Well, it's a silver for sure. It just may also fall into gold.
Well, let's put it in silver, and then we'll see what
argue
we've got
whether-
for gold.
yep.
And
Good.
sometimes you can say we've said
Clearly.
this is just gold, so
Yep.
this can't be.
Clearly. Yep. Good. See you, Jazz. Orky boys. Another example of a well-executed base. Feels it ties into the story. Really neat painting. A good example of like some better volume highlighting, that sort of stuff. The metal reads as grey a lot though. I don't.
Well, it suffers a bit from the dullness that we've.
Yeah. Nice to see an orc that's not like vibrant toxic green. It's
natural colour.
Natural skin, and this is good. I feel this is a really strong silver. Good elements.
Yeah, I agree. Everything's neat and great and works together, without. Nice to meet you. Without being, there's nothing that's leaping out
Yep.
as really memorable and
Yep.
wow factor. So
Yep. Strong silver.
Yeah, strong silver.
Nothing else. I'm really keen on your take on this one because this one has grown on me a lot.
This one.
Yeah, I really think this is super cool. So your plinth, it's always hard sell for me when you've got a fucking shiny, glossy green plinth, right?
It's it's horrible. It's horrible. The plinth is horrible, but well, let's look
Yeah.
past that. Well, it's not horrible. It's not to our taste.
It's shit
It's not to our taste. But let's see. It's really quite interesting. It's an interesting. Oh, I see. It's like a. They're really interesting and unusual colors. I like the way, well, things like the soles of the feet.
Yeah, you don't. So that's something you
And,
don't normally see, right?
yeah.
Soles of the feet done in a lighter color,
Yeah.
but it really works.
Yeah, and the transition to the purples.
Yeah.
The way it's been done is very interesting. I really like this zone in here.
Yeah, really strong.
Yeah. And the face is for it's so small.
Small,
It's very
yeah.
small, but it's fantastic. It's very well treated.
And then you've got this glowing green element on a field of like desaturated red. It's cool. It's the metal's really great.
I feel like maybe a bit. I mean, we're nitpicking, but there's some really bright spots of light. So if we're looking at it from,
Yep.
we look at the camera.
Yep.
We're looking at it from there, which is where it's I think designed to be looked from primarily.
Yeah.
There's some really bright sparkles, you know.
Yeah.
But then I feel like they should be here as well. Like that's a bit of a missed
Yeah, a little
dead
area that
zone
should
or
have a
something.
tiny bit more pop.
But it's not, you know, it's not.
I like this being a little bit lighter and like sort of.
Yeah, well, it's a good shape too
Yeah.
because it's sort of going in the.
There's just a lot of.
It's
There's
not
just a lot
fighting
of
against the direction
interesting.
of.
There's just a lot of
it's a
interesting
curve,
things that's
like-
feeding you into the model,
Yeah,
and
the whole thing curves like that. It's
Like,
a movement.
I really like it, and I sort of the first time I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, "Ooh, lots of cool elements," you know.
Well, it's creative and different. I talked before about I
Rewarding
always think it's
creativity.
good to reward that in a competition like this. So I think, well, you know, we can pick apart some other technical bits if we really wanted to, I suppose. But for me, there's the leather is a bit not as good as the other parts, but I'm not too concerned about it. It's not for me. It's not having a huge negative.
You barely look at the
Yeah.
leather because of
Yeah,
everything else being
everything
so
else more
interesting.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
right. It's not really noticeable
Yeah.
as a problem. So I'm happy for
Let's put that on the
I'm-
border of gold and silver because I think it's worth.
okay. I'm
using
definitely a high silver, and
Yeah.
then we'll see.
And
Yeah.
and then putting that on in terms of
So, like,
along with Panda. Yep. Yep.
they're the good.
Yep. Cool. So I reckon all these are golds and we can just move on, eh?
Hi, great. Yeah, good.
What do you think of this one?
Well, we had a look at this before the competition when we were talking to Dave. I think the comments we made then, Stan, they're fantastic.
This element is
gold area
unbelievable.
here, really good. And then
This is unbelievable. This right beside it just looks flat as a
yeah,
tack.
well, it is.
And this
Yeah.
this looks flat
Yeah.
as a tack, and this looks just.
Yeah.
And,
And
you
the
can't
colour-
have such sharp lighting and then go into this flatness.
Yeah,
Just
it's
doesn't
too.
work.
It's just too much of a disconnect, isn't it? It's very jarring. The you know, the way that it transitions to purple. It's interesting. Again, it's interesting, creative, and different. But
Silver.
yep,
Yeah, I think silver.
It's silver, but it's
If you had this alone, that's
Yeah.
world class. Like that's just the sharpness of that volume
for sure. Yeah.
into the dark shadow. Like that's sublime painting, and you can't. It's just the whole.
It's max silver. I'm
Yeah,
even gonna say
you said tempting towards bronze?
Lowish silver.
Yeah, okay.
Or
I'd-
I'm happy with silver though, but I think we could.
I
have
think
an
it's a
argument
travesty
for it.
that you give something with that face bronze.
Well, it's like we gave
Yeah,
the Boba
fair.
Fett.
Yeah, fair.
You know, that's the base.
Let's
of
put it on
Boba
the
Fett.
let's put it on the border
Yeah.
and go, because I tend to agree that it's at the low end.
Talked about there to re-examine. This one, did we decide?
I think silver. Yeah. Yeah, let's do the little buffers. Yeah.
Are there any? We'll compare them to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
What I love about this is focal points in action, right? Here is where you look, friends. Look at me.
Yeah,
Don't look down
without
here.
the need for
Yeah.
saturated colours, it's just
Don't
value.
look here.
Yeah.
Look here,
Yeah.
and you do, and that means that this doesn't need to be as strong
Yeah.
for that reason. In terms of like the execution of this element, perfection. And this element, perfection. The face, I'd probably like to see it be just a little different tone.
It's just
You know,
it needs a bit of pizzazz or something. Yeah,
like whether
something.
that's a little punch of purple or
Yeah.
just something to differentiate. I think
Like a red light or tattoo
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something. on his-
something,
but
yeah.
whatever it may be.
but I look, it's a gold for me without
Well, that's
too much.
it's so technically.
Good save,
almost
Dano.
broken.
Good save, Dano. Sorry, Dave.
I mean, it's so technically strong, you can't really.
Yeah, I think it's just straight up and
Yeah,
down.
you can't.
There's no.
It's overwhelmingly strong in technique.
Yeah.
So you can't. It has to be gold.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
It's overwhelming.
And
Yeah,
one
yeah.
other aspect about it that makes it more impressive is the scale.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
yeah,
like to get that level of quality on
Yeah.
that scale figure, it is a
Yeah.
really impressive achievement.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a goal for sure.
Yep.
Which probably
I agree.
probably makes me want to lean towards silver for this.
Yeah. Well, it's got something going for it, which that previous one didn't have, which is the kind of bringing the base more into the
Yeah.
composition and everything. But
Yeah.
it's just the technique's not.
It's not at
I mean, it's
that
nowhere
same-
near it.
No.
So.
No. So yeah, it's got to be silver.
Yeah.
But I do love this. Like this.
Yeah,
whole
it's really
little
nice.
element.
It's
Yeah.
like
But silver.
I really like it.
So this one falls into the exact same category as the vampire for me, but potentially even stronger because the base is stronger.
Yeah, the base is stronger, and I like the. Well, it's not just value; it's brought in the
Yeah.
colors as well.
Yeah. The only
The
element
red.
that are weak is the
I'm
red.
just sorry that the red just didn't have.
A little bit more.
Just needs a bit more
just,
punch.
Just one
Yeah.
little extra line, but this is so strong. And,
Yeah.
the weakness of the vampire was it was too similar. This is just awesome. Like this, you've got a massive contrast of red to this tealy green, and then you've got the skin which is so clearly defined.
And there's some really spectacular parts like this.
This is awesome. This
Leg
line
is
down
really-
here. Look at this. This is this
yeah.
little sparkle light. Wonderful execution. This is nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't
it's
argue. It's again, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Beautiful
there's nothing
gold.
to argue. Yeah,
Enjoy.
Beautiful. Okay, that's all the littlies.
Yeah. So I think we're starting to get a sense of what's gold and what's silver now. So I lean towards some pretty clear silver.
Do you want me to just bring them from that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, we'll pick
Yeah,
out that.
I think that looks silver. Just comparing technique. I think I think maybe she's silver. Yep.
Let me have a look.
Well, it was, but it was like a kid's toy kind of thing.
That's interesting. I looked at that one yet.
Yep. Save that one for later.
Save
mate.
that one and that one.
Have you got anything in? Did you just come in?
No, I snuck in yesterday. My wife took a child here.
Hi, Wes. You've come at the times when we can't talk, both times.
Are you on stream now?
We are live.
Okay. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I can say from here that you've outdone this.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that. And you know how I feel about Kara.
Alright, let's have a look at these.
Let's do that one.
Let's do this one first. And then we can do this because it's similar subject matter.
Cool historical, probably our only out and out historical figure.
Yeah. Was yours on,
Yes, man.
on the...
Well, yeah.
Okay, historical. So,
You start talking about different things when you look at historical figures, and we probably shouldn't. You know, I think that's maybe a weakness of the way I think
I don't
about
think we
historical.
need to. Yeah, I don't. It's just. I think it comes down to. We're not. It's not a different criteria, judging criteria. It is, the concept is different.
Yeah.
So we have to judge each. That crazy, colourful woman, whatever
Yeah.
she's called.
Alicia.
Completely different concept. So we're judging it on that concept.
Yeah, you put those
So
two
we have
side
to-
by side, and how do you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the concept here is realism, historical. So that's.
This is quite weak.
Yeah, it's. Okay, well, we start from which end do you want to start from? The good or bad?
Which end do you think is bad?
The bad negatives.
Yeah.
I don't know why the base is so long. It should be. For some reason, it's really worrying me that it's not. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's not a square. It's like a rectangle.
It's interesting. You know what would have made this better is if this guy was right at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Use it. The fact that
Use
it's
the
really
length.
long.
If you've got the length,
for sure.
use it. Right?
Yeah.
That's a good.
But he's
good
kind of in
motto
the
life.
middle, and then it's like, why isn't the base just a square?
Yeah,
Or-
why have you got this lengthy base? If you put it at the end there, all of a sudden then you have a composition and a
I like the way you think.
but he's right in the
It's
middle.
okay. Like I like a bit of dust and sand is cool, but it's too much. And it's too light.
Yeah, the
and
high
it's-
value is
yeah,
distracting.
It's a bit of a distraction.
This is well executed though. This
The
little,
dust.
Yeah, the dust.
I like
bit too much
always
here.
love that.
But
It's
this
a
is
bit
well executed.
It's a bit the black. I mean, black is hard.
So hard.
But it's just. I think what's gone wrong on this part of the tabard is the speckles of dust are really broken. It looks kind of. It doesn't look dusty. It looks like the painting's dirty or something. Can you see that?
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
the
yeah,
micro.
yeah.
Like it looks. It's doing. It's worrying me.
I'm unimpressed by the leather.
Yeah.
Black's a hard colour to paint, right? And I think for the most part it reads as black, and it's got
Yeah.
enough value in it that you go, yeah, cool, that feels right.
Oh yeah,
And-
it's
and
clearly
this
like
is,
it's
this
black.
is a
and-
strong impact, but
Yeah.
then this here isn't anywhere near it. The other, like,
Yeah, I know. If you're gonna have that all black, then it's a good chance to
yeah, break it up
break
with
it up
some,
with some
brighter leather,
different and interesting.
and then you've got
the strap.
this
This is
strap is
mostly neglected.
Also, it doesn't. I should understand the strap existing at all, really. But the wood's poor, which isn't an
Yeah.
element you're looking a lot at. So I'm not going to be too harsh on that.
Well, but if we're going to start nitpicking, then this rope is quite scrappy. The metal, if you're going to go metallics, I like metallics still. I'm old school, but they're missing some thing. It's a bit clumpy here, like it's been too watery or something. Like it's gone the silver colour's gone in the. I mean that's so I'm getting micro nip.
It doesn't.
But
it doesn't read incorrectly to me. Like that feels fine. That feels fine. That feels fine. This feels fine. But when you look at all of these little elements that are sort of detracting, I think it, particularly the base, I think it probably pushes it into a silver. Whereas if those little elements were maybe a little bit better, it would be a gold. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, happy with the silver.
Yeah, I mean it's an impressive historical piece. In terms of and not something we often see here.
Yeah.
And I like.
And if you're out there and you like historical painting, we love to see them.
I think there's just one or two things that.
Yeah, for me there are enough little weak areas that you can't.
The one that jumps out to me most is the base.
I was off camera.
That's fine.
Yeah, the base. Yeah.
Yeah, the base just drops it.
Okay.
So going to these guys,
so we just looked at one.
These are sort of significantly improved over that, and it's interesting. The base isn't drawing your focus away, and so this grey or this black looks much more
much better.
Much more black. Possibly some weakness here. I would have liked to see a little bit more definition on these edges.
It's better up here.
Much better here
than here.
And that's probably okay. Love the yellow tones.
Yeah, the yellow's great.
Yeah, love that. Leather's probably okay, but again, a weakness.
Yeah.
And when you've got a large...
It's better.
Yeah, better,
But
a weakness. But I think the face is really strong on both of them.
The face is
that one's not as good. This one's excellent.
Yeah, I agree. This
guy's better than that guy. Even the helmet is a much better.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this guy's gold and this guy's silver. So I'm going to give it silver because you got two. You're the weakest link.
Oh, the shield's nice at the back too.
Yeah.
Sort of kind of lacquered effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the same way that we've said on other figures we looked at, there have been gold elements.
Yeah.
If there are gold elements and they're pulled down by other elements,
this guy pulls this guy down. This
not
guy's
by much.
Not by much. No.
Not by much.
But it's little things like
it's definitely the previous
Crusader
was nowhere not close to gold.
No,
this is
close.
This is close.
But I
it's
think
significant.
this area here really lets it down for me, and I wonder if it was supposed to be turned so you weren't really seeing it or something. But
it's probably meant to be like that. Well, that's. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but it's still weak here.
Yeah.
I have an issue with this model, like this hand just floating out into nowhere. It doesn't do it for me. Like it doesn't. Like where's his elbow? Right, like this angle should be back more. His elbow.
Yeah.
Got like an elbow
it
out
doesn't
like
make sense. You're right.
It's dumb, but that's the
There's
model.
also like
a black spot. It's silver.
That's it.
Spot that defect, baby. This helmet is nowhere near as strong as this one.
Yeah.
Too.
Just a few little inconsistencies, but it's very strong. It's very
strong.
It's close.
Strong,
Super strong.
Gold,
high,
silver.
highly
I'm
commended.
going to lean towards silver.
All right.
Yep. I feel pretty comfortable that this is a silver. We've got a lot of shininess. The dreadlocks are weak. Really don't. And not enough definition.
Let me just get a bronze bust and let's compare it.
Sure.
So, this is silver. We said silver. What's a good comparison? this one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same. They're both cases.
Yeah, but that's probably a good it's probably a good comparison because I do think this is better than that.
So we've said bronze there. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So I think that is a good way to show. This is a good, solid, high, well done bronze.
Mm-hmm. And this is a middle
But
silver.
that's a middle silver because it's just.
There's more elements.
There's more going on.
And
There's some nice
beautiful,
colours,
yep.
interesting. There's
The red
it's got
tones.
just as good. The focal, on the face, it's the same and just as good as here. But
Nice
it hasn't
colour
got
palettes.
this where this fell down a bit around the hair and that yes, the dreadlocks aren't the best part, but they're better than here.
Nice fur texture down here too, which sort of just subtle.
So I think that's a good example.
Yeah. So that's silver,
Yeah.
that's bronze. Yep, I'm comfortable with that. If you are indeed comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, it was around 7.
So.
Who's next? This one.
Yep.
It's a similar sort of things.
Yep.
And this one.
Keen on your thoughts.
You guys talking?
Yes, but you can talk. Why?
Dinner still on?
Yeah, well, I haven't organised anything, so Kara's probably going to organise something for me. Hey, Kara, organise dinner for us, champion. Thank you.
Are we talking 7? 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock sounds good. Kara's organising that. She will
Alright.
sort it out.
I'll
Chels.
check in and I'll wait for a call or contact somebody.
Okay, I'm just gonna put on Oz trainers because that's where I go.
Wonderful work. Thank you, Kara. Great stuff.
I'll see you guys later on then.
See you
Bye,
there.
Derek. See you, buddy.
Okay. It's these big bug guys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm keen on your thoughts on this because I will be very frank. I love this. I think it's out there. I think it's a fucking wild piece of craziness. And
Well, but that's good. We talked before about
it pops.
creativity and being different
Yeah.
and original.
It
I think
pops to me.
there's a lot to be said for that.
This is cool. Like this adds to the figure.
I haven't seen something like that before.
Yeah, it really adds to the piece. I think
It's weird, but
you've got a cool focal point for a dude that doesn't have eyes. You've got bright orange eyes,
yeah.
boogling out there. You've got
For me, the thing I really like is here. It's just this color. It's this deep, blue and violet. It's almost black in here, but then it transitions through that indigo, violet, and into this red brown at the back. It's just over here too. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that part. The same thing happens up here.
Yeah.
It's really an interesting, that indigo violet colour is really interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know, but Kara came on into the stream yesterday and talked about this colour being
did she?
yin min blue. It's the first inorganic blue pigment.
Oh, I
made in
remember.
200 years. Yeah, right. So it's,
now I remember her mentioning that a while
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
It's interesting.
It's cool, right?
Yeah,
It creates.
yeah.
You can feel something different about it when you look at it.
Yeah, and but it's adding a lot. It's
I
not just
agree.
there.
Yeah.
It's
doing something for the figure.
She's harnessed it to do something we haven't really seen,
Yeah.
which is really, really cool. Interesting on the back markings and
Really well executed resin pour.
this is. I like this little hidey hole pocket thing down here.
Yeah.
Let me put it in the camera. Do you reckon anyone can
Yeah,
see it?
yeah,
Is
they
it too
can see that.
shiny?
Yeah, no, it's probably a bit shiny, but
Yeah,
it's fine.
there's a cool. Anyway, yeah, the base is really works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blue bubbles are just
Yeah,
something weird that just
it's all
weird
cool
and different,
weird
yeah.
and interesting and well executed
And
yeah,
the lighting's all
that value
cool
there
and
is great.
interesting to look at up here.
Like this, it just when I look at it, I go, this is super cool.
Yeah.
I would never do this, but
Yeah,
it's super cool.
yeah. Yeah, it's. So where are you going for this?
I think it's a gold.
Gold?
Yeah.
I think it's a gold, as well. That's. There's something from all we've said. There's something missing. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Yeah.
Everything's great and fantastic, but it's like because it's a crab. It's sort of maybe there's like a. I don't know if there's a bit of story missing or some kind of. There needs to be one more extra thing to make this like a, not just a gold, but like a
Contender
really
for-
special
contender for best in
thing or
show,
something.
yeah.
Would you agree
Like,
with that?
where I think it's not quite. It's just one atmosphere, one.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
You know, it's that.
Well, it's that homogeneous.
Homogeneous-
It all belongs together, which
Yeah.
is great. But
Whether we
Yeah.
had, I mean, this is just spitballing, right? But a sign or something like another
yeah,
element
yeah,
on the
it-
base,
That's what I mean. So whether it's some
Yeah.
sort of
or then maybe
narrative or
like
composition
some
or-
green goop like sliding
yeah,
down
like
in, or
something's
just
happened
there's
up here, or
something
yeah,
different.
yeah,
To,
yeah, agreed.
to give you, but it's a clear goal, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
And cool
Yeah,
to
I think
see
we're on the
something
same.
so unique.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. Couldn't be more different from the historical.
Correct. Yeah. So
One's up here.
we're on a.
We haven't looked at these.
No. So these are the other silver/gold
Yeah.
contenders. I think this is really cool.
Is this your stream?
I really like the color combo again.
Yeah.
This I'm a sucker for green
This is
and red.
this is a
yeah.
nicely executed volume in general. Same with this area here. I love the rock palette. I love the palette in general. Actually, that back pick's really nice. That little element there is awesome.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
that's
a good
nice.
example of paying attention to
Yeah.
every part. For me, I really like the interesting color transition. Blue,
Yep.
blues up here, blue,
Yep.
green, purple. A lot of nice transitions. For me, I'm just not. The technique-wise, it's strong, but is it strong enough?
It's on the border for me
to
too.
get
Yeah.
to goal. It's on the border.
Yeah.
I
this,
mean,
this red down here, right? So it's great, works well. But when you look at it,
I know, why is it all like it's sort of? Why is it so flat or
yeah,
something?
yeah,
Like
it's not
like it makes sense here under
There-
the arm.
there it's done
there
well,
it
but
makes
this
sense,
area-
but it's not. We're not under here. We're
Yeah,
still
and
on the. This wouldn't be so dark.
why is there not sort of more here? I think
Yeah, when it's still light here. So
Yeah.
the light's coming here. Why is
this
why isn't
area
it
here is,
yeah,
is weak. But
it's a problem.
it's got a lot of impact for me, and it was the first one I looked at on the table. I picked up, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, really jumps out with
Yeah.
some nice, interesting colours. And, so it's on the border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the border. It's a silver, and we'll
Possibly move it up.
maybe re-examine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
This one, that one, which one?
Yeah. Either or.
What have we got here? Okay. You know, smoothness is great. The lighting works well. Technically excellent, but it's not enough. It's not a gold for me. It's missing. There are a few. If it's going to be dead, super duper smooth like this, there are a few issues. I don't know whether that's dust or what is it? No, that's on the. There's a few little marks and irregularities here and there on the skin.
So I think if you look at
There's
the
a-
face up, right, that is gold worthy. This down,
It would be if it was in the context of something where there was more going on.
Exactly,
There's not enough
exactly.
going on. Yeah.
but when you take it as a whole,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a clean, neat, smooth, subtle lighting.
Yeah, which is great, but if you want to win gold, you've got to do
There's got to be
something
more.
You've
And
got to
this is the attempt. at doing more, but I don't think there is enough.
It's not. It's okay, but it's not.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a good.
Oh, it's great. It's great, but it's.
High
We just
silver?
said,
Yeah.
about Kara's crab that. I mean, we're saying that's a gold, but it was missing something. This
Yeah.
is missing a few things.
Yeah.
Probably it's missing a bit of a. Story.
The hair's not
It's
shiny
not
enough for me.
quite
Like the hair should be
ambitious enough.
shinier.
Yeah, but
You
it's
know,
super solid. But
You could possibly add some more really light bits on the nipples, or a little bit more light here. It's sort of like
it needs a
real close.
like a concept, strong like a. Well, again, more of an attempt at a story or something original or something creative, or I mean, can't fault the technique, but that's only getting me to silver.
okay. I wouldn't push hard against.
Do you think it should be a gold
I think it's on the cusp.
on the cusp?
But I think let's assess the
Okay,
goals.
well let's. Yeah, that's a good
Because
idea.
there's a couple
Let's-
that are on the border.
Maybe I'm being too rough, so I'll
Well,
put it on the cusp and
Yeah,
we'll
so I
come
think
back.
we've got
Yeah.
Kong and we've got her that both have some really nice elements that could be on.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas, yeah,
Okay.
because yeah. So those two are. Yeah.
Sometimes I get too carried away.
No, I think it's so. This one for me is a silver, and it's because of that.
Yeah, well, there's for the same reason we gave the other one, the one woman, the bronze,
Yeah.
whatever she's called,
Earth,
the Earth
from Michael
Earth.
Kucharis. This
It's
is
better.
stronger though
Yeah, it's
than
stronger.
Earth, because this angle is really strong.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
strong.
but it suffers from the same issue, which is it's only viewable from that angle.
Yeah.
Um,
Love the warmth.
oh, it's beautiful, absolutely
Yeah.
spectacular.
This line down here across, I don't know, it feels just too stark to me. Especially when you account for this, because so you look at this sword, right? You go, cool, this sword's all in light. It goes all the way up to here, but if you turn it in this way, you've got this, and this sort of pushes out more. It doesn't.
Yeah, maybe, but
But if you said to me, I passionately believe this is a gold, I couldn't make a compelling argument against it,
oh sure.
because the technique's perfect. The swords are unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
obviously
look,
an
it's-
intended effect for the light transition.
True, and we did talk about concept, and
Yep.
it's following a concept.
Yeah.
I found myself scratching. They've done so much damage to their message over years, it doesn't matter if they do one piece like that. People are like,
Well, we're gonna end up with everything on the border for rediscussion.
Now,
but
tell you what.
Maybe we'll put this on a gold.
Gold
and
potentially
we'll
move
potentially
down.
move down.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I think
yeah,
that's the right
yeah,
call. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So that's on this side.
Yep.
That's on that side.
Yep. All right. This one.
This one.
that's the way viruses work. They want to live forever. If they're killing the host, they're not a good virus.
I am probably on silver.
Yep. I agree. It's strong. It's painting strong across the board. Consistent.
So we haven't
you
talked.
know,
We
the
haven't
lighting
talked
is
about.
consistent.
We haven't talked enough about model choice, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about a competition,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And when you're in a competition, model choice factors into that because it has to draw your attention. It has to make you want to look at
well,
it.
it's the canvas you're using, so you
To
need
tell
to
your story, yeah.
use it to. You need to choose and use.
And an anatomical model, to me, like whatever this type of model is, a really abbreviated small bust.
Yeah.
It's not enough of a canvas for you to push your agenda of what you're trying to say. it's a well executed paint job. The metal on these areas in particular is really cool. The face is strong. The hair's okay without setting the world on fire. This green element is ordinary, but
It's all
not,
strong. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything's strong across the board
But
and
model
consistent.
choice,
But
it's not an impressive model. I don't jump out of my chair going, this is a model that I can't wait to, have a crack at.
yeah, it's well, we've said it for a few, and this is the same. It's for this to be gold worthy, you need to do either have something more original or a different model. You can do doesn't have to be a different model, but it can be easier with something that allows you to bring in that special element of something creative or pushing, a story or something memorable, or like you said, this is very solid. It's fantastic painting, and silver is meant to be for fantastic painting.
Yeah. Silver.
All right,
Fine piece.
it's fine.
Fine piece. Yep. All right. We're into some I think straight goals now. So it's not a question of whether they are, it's a question of why we think they are and if we need to discuss it any further.
These ones.
I want to do this one.
This
Because
one?
I'm fucking blown away by this.
Yeah. Let me just bring these.
You have a bias.
Yes, I sculpted this one as well.
So
Daughter of the Firmament.
Allow me to lead, horny chick. Allow me to lead this discussion here, my friend. This makes me want to paint this figure, and I didn't feel that way when I saw the figure first. This has so many compelling elements. This is just awesome. Like, I love how this looks. The face is got so much interest in colours, in without being like punch you in the mouth with intensity. It's just interesting, These elements are done well enough that I like them, while probably not being perfect as this.
Yep.
These are great. Like, these are just
They're cool, aren't they?
They're
they're really
just
cool.
awesome, and this.
That's oranges are really.
So the great thing about this is it shows intelligence around the different types of materials. Cloth doesn't have hard highlights. It's soft. It's a soft element, and this is a soft highlighting. Whereas you look at some of the other elements, and you've got hard highlights. So you look at this and this, and you go, these are two different surfaces.
Yes, and it's very clear with here and here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
very
and,
clear.
and then you've got,
again, it's different here.
Yeah, but it's different again to that, right? So you've got a clear separation of these are different elements. It reads as an interesting, like, the lighting feels like unusual. You feel like you've got warm elements on this side, but then you've got some cold moonlight happening here. Like, is she walking through a corridor with some moonlight?
It's very
streaming
unusual,
through?
which is, what would, just saying the previous bust, it was solid all over, but there was nothing unusual or experimental
This is pushing some boundaries for me, and I'm not normally one to go and say, Kara's work is my favourite, as you well know, but this is unbelievable. Like, I think this is crazy. This is a weak element compared to this.
Yes, I think there's, if we're going to look at weak bits, I think I have a bit of an issue with the orange cloth on the back here.
Yep.
Just it's so spectacular and properly considered on the front side. I don't know why it's so. These dark shadows don't belong there for me.
Yep.
However, it's not the most important part of the bust, and it's not that bad. I think it could have been nice with. She's tried to shift the hue to match this funny
Colder.
blue cold light coming here, which is really interesting. I wish it would have done a little bit more, maybe. Here and maybe on the top of
Yeah.
here, but I'm nitpicking.
Yep.
Yeah, their faces I don't know if you can see if you're following along at home, but it has a real subtlety of a hue change from being warm on this side and cold on this side.
And it's super subtle.
It's very, very subtle.
And it's
but
really well done.
Yeah. And this is just really interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's hard to look away from this part.
This is a out and out gold, no doubt, and a contender for best in show, I believe. One in the pile, for sure.
Okay, I'm happy with gold.
Yep, good.
It's, if I can add one more thing on a personal note, it's
Weird.
really weird to see as the sculptor of this figure. They're not. I don't really imagine the colours when I'm sculpting, but
You didn't
these aren't
imagine
the
that.
colours I was imagining at all. It's completely painted completely differently to anything I had in my mind, which
Yeah.
is really
It's out- well,
mind blowing.
It's made me want to look at that figure and
Yeah.
go, how would I paint that?
Yeah.
And that's just not something. Yeah. So, well done.
Yeah, well done.
This one? Yep. I think that's a gold. I think it's every element's well executed. The story is there. There's visual interest.
This is a good one example of when we talked about just something extra being needed from the other bus.
Yeah.
There's just a bit of there's like a splash of bright green on the back of the
which you
shield.
go, ooh,
It's
cool.
like, oh, what's that? It
Yeah.
adds something to the story.
Yeah,
It's something
yeah.
to talk about and go, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about
Exactly.
by bringing in something special. The same on the front here. There's this green sparkle.
Yeah.
This blood, whatever it is really interesting.
To go a little bit
the-
critical, this skin area, the value of the hair is such that it almost
Yeah.
gets a little lost.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. I mean, we can go deep into that.
Yeah.
But I don't think
No.
you need to. It's.
I'm comfortable with that as a gold.
Yeah.
Like that's
It's very, very high level painted or consistently over
Yeah.
the piece. It's got some interest. It's a good model choice.
yeah.
And but it's not it's a gold, but it's not something we'd probably come back and say it's
No.
like a best of show.
No.
It would need to have another extra thing
For
for
sure.
that.
Yeah. Comfortable with
But
that.
it's a solid gold.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
And another excellent figure. This one.
Yep.
I haven't had a
Yeah.
close look at this one yet.
I'll
Have you had a good look at it?
I have, yes. Get your perspective first.
This one is. I like the moody lighting. I mean, it suits the subject so well. The jade or whatever it is, green bits are really cool color combo with the reds, the reddish leathers and skin tones and everything. I like the sharpness of all the details. I said before about something that you need good definition of
Yep.
details. That's really good here. All these like ropes and beads and everything are really well defined. I quite like the shield. It's not perfectly done, but this sort of sense of the red reflection is kind of interesting to look
Feels
at.
right.
Yeah, it
Feels right.
feels like at a glance it's quite interesting. When you look a bit closer, it's not perfect, but it's the rear. It's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's not a big problem. Actually, I'm liking it more the more I look at it.
Yeah.
The fur I would like a bit more. For me, it's a bit of a letdown. I know it's really hard to paint fur.
Tough
but
sculpting too.
It's
It's
tough.
not a good sculpt.
It's really tough. Also, his hair is a bit of a problem for me. It looks unfinished compared to other parts.
I feel this is a gold at not the same level as Harold.
What's Harold?
Harold's the dude with the axe that we did the green
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. I agree. I was going to say it's low gold.
Sure.
It's not as good as the other golds we've
Agreed.
looked at.
Yeah.
Because of a couple of things we've
Yep.
mentioned. But it's still, overall, it's
Yep. Yep.
it's good. And it's a good model. Again, it's
Good
a good
model
example
choice.
of good
Yeah,
model
yeah,
choice.
exactly.
It show off effects and so you
Lots
got
of,
space
lots
to
of
do
different
things.
textures and
Yeah.
shapes and interesting colour choices. Yep. So
Have you
that's
got more to add to that? Or?
no. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much
Confident?
my read. I think the leather's probably a little weak as well,
Yeah.
particularly down the
The
bottom.
leather.
But,
These people with their leather.
fucking leather's easier shit to paint, mate. Just fucking get some glazes in there, motherfuckers.
You got a preference?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. So do you think this is another one of, well, we're not going to, it's another one of Dave's.
It's obviously
yeah,
David's,
yeah,
yep.
obviously. Not surprising anyone. This time the back has been painted.
Yeah. Look,
Sorry,
look,
Dave.
Without needing to, this is a clear gold, right?
Yeah.
And without any shadow of a doubt, contender
it's-
for best in show
yeah.
for me.
It's the smoothness is unbelievable.
The warmth here into the salmon.
Yeah,
colours
these
is-
salmon glow.
Yeah,
it's
just
beautiful.
sublime.
That's something that's a special element. We're
Yeah.
talking about a special element.
This area could do with
Could do
something, but
something there.
that's critical.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm so impressed with is again the other figure that he did with the face, it just blew me away. But this is even better because I'm drawn to it and her eyes are closed, and you know
Yeah.
how hard it is to get a focal point when the eyes are closed. But I can't stop looking there because it's so
Yeah.
clean and just yeah.
It's one of the one of the cleanest, smoothest
Yeah,
figures I've ever
yeah.
seen.
Let me just pop it a little bit out of focus there, so we'll just go down. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's obviously gold. We'll come back for a best of show discussion.
Yeah, so we'll probably do the best of show
and
discussion.
then we'll be really mean.
We'll probably do the best of show discussion offline, so that's a surprise. So,
Oh, right, okay.
but it's a clear
We'll
gold.
tell you later.
Yeah.
It's clear gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful,
Lovely.
beautiful,
Lovely.
beautiful. This one?
Yep. Surprised by this. Liked it more than I thought I would. I've seen some photos of it before.
This has an instant appeal to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I like it because it's different and it's all those things we keep saying. It's unusual. You might say that's because of the model choice, but great.
Yeah.
It's a kind of model that allows you to do
Something cool.
something really different or
Do you know
interpret
how
it.
hard it is to paint that to look like that?
Yeah.
You know, like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
Painting it to look like it's spray painted is just really hard, and
I'm kind of fascinated by. I don't know. This color here is really rich and unusual.
Yeah.
This sort of reflective bit on
Yeah.
the mask is really
Love this.
interesting. I like that a lot. The way this sort of non-metallic, I guess, mask has been painted is quite unusual. It's not.
almost
It's
like
not.
glass.
It's not a usual non-metallic. It's different. It's I really like it. And yeah, this is interesting. The coat is quite interesting. I like the missing finger down here.
Yeah.
I noticed it.
So this area, right? So
Yeah,
it's not as strong and it's lacking contrast. But what that does is it feeds you into the other areas.
It's true. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's not neglected. It's left as a break.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think still, I mean, if we're gonna pick apart Dave and others for neglecting the
Yeah.
rears. You know, there's a bit of a not too much going on at the back here.
Could have done more in a few of these areas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe another graffiti slash or something like that.
Yep.
But hey,
So I'm that's a gold for me, but I'm interested in your take because it is an out there.
yeah. Look, I'm happy to award golds. I think you could pick apart the painting a bit, maybe. It's not the strongest
No,
painting
it's
technique.
probably the
Yeah.
weakest of the golds that we would be awarding.
But making up for that is the interest factor,
Yep.
which is really important.
Yep.
And that's enough for me. It's the painting's good enough,
Yep.
and the interest factor's so high that it definitely elevates it to a gold if you're happy with that.
I am happy with that. Yep. I think that's a fair,
Yeah,
crazy figure.
yeah, it's cool.
There's only two of those. There's a big one. And there's more that
Belongs there.
Yeah, I'll show you this. I'll show you this.
Two left.
Two left.
This one will finish with. Oh no, they'll finish with that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it. Love
This
it. Love
is
it.
cool.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Thought I'd hate it. Love it. Love it. Thought
It's-
I'd hate it.
Why did you think you'd hate it?
I don't know. It's just it's sacrificial, mate. It's sacrificial to do that to a Lucas Penis sculpt. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that.
Speaking of bringing some pizzazz or something different or a concept, this is a great example of that. How to take and sculpt that didn't even really need that and elevate it to something just
It's personal
so
and
memorable
unique
and personal.
I think the painting's great. If I could get a little nitpicky, I think that the focal points are a little bit askew.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a stop sign, I'm looking at a witch's hat, and that's
Yeah.
about it. But I guess in a way that's what you want to look at because that's the thing that's cool and crazy and weird. I was blown away by this, the back of that. You know, that's a beautifully executed rear of a sign. The level of
This is really
attention
nice too.
put
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah.
that element. You know, if that's my piece, and to be not critical of myself, that's just fucking black. Man. I'm not doing anything with that. And here's this with all this
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
modelling.
yeah,
There's probably more time spent on that than
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
half the shit I paint. So, I just think the level of appreciation for those little elements.
Yeah, look, it's not perfect. There are, there's some a few downsides.
So
There's, like you said, there's
the skin on
the
this guy, right? So let's use that other model that you sculpted as an example. This is skin that tries to do something interesting and doesn't land as well as that other chick does, right? These tones, there's not a real sense of what's happening for me.
yeah, like why is it like,
this?
Yeah, or,
you know,
yeah.
this guy, fine, he's good, right? But this guy, I don't get why.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's sort of, it's funny that on a model where it's such an obvious kind of center of focus and
Yeah.
sort of the part that's, it's not that it's painted badly. It's great, but it's almost like compared to all this action going on.
Yeah.
Needed some action.
When you talk about
yeah.
composition, right, we've got this zigzag which sort of draws me down to here, and this sort of draws me down as well, and it's sort of almost like,
Yeah.
hey, forget this exists.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Check this guy out, and check this out,
Yeah,
and check
yeah,
this out.
yeah.
This is okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a gold for sure.
Oh yeah.
And certainly in the mix
And
for best
yes,
of show.
it'll be a discussion for sure. Just big, huge points for the
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah. Stones dragging on the ground, mate. That's absolute.
It's memorable.
It's memorable.
It's memorable.
Yeah,
Alright. Alright. Here's another very interesting one. I only saw this a minute ago.
Did you not see this?
I only looked at it when we were shifting around things and went, ooh, that is more interesting than I first thought.
Oh, I saved this to last for a reason.
that chef is very
this is I really like this one. This is another good example of taking
elevating
what's
piece.
already a beautiful piece that lends itself to expressing so much through painting to another level.
Yeah.
By bringing in something really unusual and
Impactful.
unexpected,
Yeah.
and not only that, but executing it. I've seen shadows painted like this before, but this is probably the best one I've seen in person, definitely.
I will say that this element here
Yeah.
of the shadows is not strong, and this is a little bit.
I like it here.
Yeah.
This
This
if
doesn't
only
work. It just needed to come out a
it
little
just needed
more.
to come over.
Yeah, I know, just a little more. That's all it is, right? Because this
I know.
is fucking sublime.
I know.
And but this looks like he's got
Why?
mud
It's
in
like
his hair.
he just got scared.
Yeah.
It's just
He's just gone a little bit, but then he's like,
Just
no, I'm
shy.
gun shy. No more,
Yeah,
no more,
yeah.
no more. That's enough. Now fucking go, mate. Imagine
I know.
if there was a
if
shadow
it
just
went
all
just
the way
like
across
this
there.
over here.
I am just, that's perfection.
But come on, I mean, this the color palette, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's so smooth and lovely to look at, isn't it?
Good.
I mean, how else can you describe it? It's just like
It's gold, and it's a contender for best in show,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean,
it's
there's
ultra smooth.
There's not, and
but
when we've
the
looked
palette
at some
is it's a really strong palette without having too many
Yeah.
colors. Like all works.
Yeah, nice.
The
So
purple, blue,
what you've
green,
got
red.
is you've got warm
Yeah.
greens and warm blues, and that's it's a warm palette.
Well, the blue's been used for the
Yeah.
to bring the focus up
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
the eyes and the bird.
There's no element of this that isn't executed in a way that feeds into the story
Yeah.
and feeds into what it's trying to draw you towards. It's
Yeah.
and when you look at the back, how we're critical on some of the other ones. The back
Yeah.
feels much more.
Yeah, it
You
makes
know,
sense. It gets
in
darker,
tune, yeah.
which makes sense here. It's darker, but it hasn't been neglected.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
painted in a
Yeah.
more subtle, darker way,
Yeah.
but everything's still being attended to. So this is a good one,
Yep.
and we'll have a
We
really
will have,
difficult
we'll have a
discussion.
vigorous discussion about best in show. So,
that all of it?
So let's
go back and
we're
just do
going
a
to go
double
and do a
check.
quick review. You probably won't be able to hear this, but if you can, great. We're just going to be looking at the cuts and making sure we're happy with that. If there's any that we want to discuss, we may come back. But yeah, we'll be back shortly. We'll just do another walk of the tables. So, does this one fit in with the rest, do you think?
I think it fits with if that's
Yep.
gold, that's gold.
Yep. So these are contenders. Contender.
What are we doing here?
Look,
I think
I'm
yes.
here. Yeah,
And
I'm
now
here.
that we're back, I'm
And
saying
I'm
yes.
here, and I'm here, and I'm here. So that's our
Strong feel. This
Strong,
one. It's
yeah.
really strong.
These are the two that are on the fence. This one when you put this alongside these, it's obvious that it's not. I'd make a case for this.
You like them?
I do, yeah. I like the palette. The palette does it for me, right? Like it's got a really cool minty green that you don't see a lot of into some reds. It feels like really interesting and unique. And when I put it alongside some of these, like it's
Yes. Well, these are its compatriots,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. The painting quality in these is slightly higher, but
This one's different. This one's got the creativity going.
Yeah.
So that's in. So these are the closest comparison to me.
Yeah.
Have we got one? And what about this one?
Yep.
Is that a good?
Yeah, I've got one off mark.
Yeah. I think if this is a silver, this is a silver.
They're same.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
What about this one?
Yeah, I feel this is stronger.
Just.
Yeah.
It's close, but
Yeah.
these are really close.
Yeah.
That's the borders right there.
Yeah. Agreed. So there. This one?
Tim Marsh has done a 32mm up there.
I'm keen to push that. I think that's a because when I hold up, you know, this guy, I go, well, this is cooler. This is doing more stuff. You know.
I'm not convinced that it is.
Okay.
These belong together.
Okay.
As really good silvers. Just the basing works a bit.
Yeah.
More
Yep.
for me here.
Actually, you know what? Silver because of this shit.
Yeah. It's look, it's close. They're really good.
Yep.
But look what we've given.
Yep.
Look what we've, you know.
No, absolutely.
There's a
So it was
difference,
originally,
right?
so we were originally all coming together.
This?
But unfortunately their housemate caused COVID
That one.
3 weeks beforehand, which was devastating. So
Like I think
I was very fortunate enough to have another mate.
this is much better, stronger painting. This is a stronger holistic appeal.
Let me compare this one again. The question is, does the extra basing and composition boost it? So the painting's about.
Yeah, I tell you what.
I would say the painting's slightly lower.
Yeah, that's a better quality. Yeah, this black element's not good. So what I'm getting caught in here is this is really nice. The
orange
green's really
the
nice,
orange is great.
but the other elements are dragging it down a little bit. So
Also, I think there's something missing with that whole zone.
So
It's
we're happy
close.
there.
That's very close though.
Yeah.
I could happily,
Yeah.
if you want, I can go either way. Maybe yes. For me, these two are.
Just this is a good composition, and I think that kicks it over.
Okay, because that makes up, because this has some.
Yeah, that has a couple of little
This
forms.
is just in, so this maybe we will.
Yep. Okay. Comfortable with that. Comfortable with that. Comfortable with that. Comfortable with that.
Close.
It is close. It's a border.
Every time I look, I change my mind. Yeah.
I'm good with all
I mean,
these.
that's, you know, if we're going to give big composition buttons.
The painting on this is better.
True,
It's
yeah.
better.
If that, we said that needed that.
Yeah.
Something in there.
Abracadabra was the
Yeah, no,
the other
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Abracadabra, the Ghost Rider, Alchemist, and Troll.
Well, what about these?
That was a nice little spread.
Well, it's got more. It's the
got more
impact, isn't
impact,
it?
yeah,
It's the
it's got more
impact.
impact,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's, it's the impact, and it does have more impact.
Yep.
I mean, it just
Yep.
they're small. It's hard. But
Yep.
So
Yep. Low end, high end.
yeah.
Happy with that line. Happy with these.
33.
I think we just do a little.
Bobby Younger's got 33. 25.
That's not a lot.
Wise Woman is what I would have loved out of all of them.
I've got that.
That's hard. Though.
Yeah, I'm tapping it out just because of the snow. That doesn't do it for me.
I don't.
I'll see
The
if
guy
I-
who hits me
Have you sent me your
has got one.
whatever you're ready? And it's, I think it's about 75.
Yeah. I
Can
don't
you just tell me
know.
what you want for those two?
Maybe
listers?
19 seems to ring a bell. I don't know though.
But I think the paper all across is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I want. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
I'll say fine.
Yeah, see,
Are you
I
gonna
do
do it?
it for free just to get the chance to paint it, but you can't say it. You can't say it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I feel real sketch about the week before my wedding. Yeah.
Look, a hole with a rock on top.
And I was saying to my partner, I'm like, you can't go to work. Like, you've got, because she can work.
Good impact.
She's like, yeah, I can work in that VAC office, I was pretty much been pretty good so far, but I like this. Look, it's my shop, so I can sort of do some good technique. If I want to turn it into a kiosk, so people can show us the shop.
But again, just a little.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah. There is a certain kind of
I was really hoping that for
level of technique you need, and then it's
some of
kind
those-
of,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then that's when you
Yeah.
do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people.
I see it.
Thrive in it.
Oh, you're
I'd love it to be.
Alright.
But I'll be back in a moment. You each one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, I see one.
And options,
See you.
and options.
What's that?
So
Good to see you.
Yeah. It's good to be out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, in society. And not under a rock.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I know.
Driving it back.
See,
Rolling people up.
yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah.
I talked to Mark.
Just a clap.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
We definitely booty.
Oh, look.
I think we are. Oh, I don't need to discuss it.
I don't love it. I don't love it. Yeah.
Got it. Same with this.
Yeah, I don't love that either.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It doesn't work.
I think the lies the
Not
best
right.
out of all the graphics.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with those. Looked at all those. Bit short. Bit short.
I think they're good.
Paladin.
Bit short.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a really cool point.
Tuck it out.
Yeah.
Tuck it out.
Is the paladin.
Yeah.
I don't remember the
Or we should take
names.
our medication.
A lie.
Oh, yeah. That'll be one for the
I would not
that's in the next few.
Okay, so I
hesitate
have
to
to
say
pay
that
for
Kirill
it.
is swayed my opinion on Kyle.
Not that that's a bad thing.
There's some pretty good versions out there already of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because she's so fairly blank canvas, but she's still got enough interest, she's got that balance.
Yeah. The same crap.
Yeah.
No, you can finish book man first,
Yeah.
and then try not to break it.
I'm just trying to think how I'd justify it if we did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in.
And then put it in the cupboard and never touch it again. Yeah. And people are like, oh, can we see the flush? I'm like, no, you can't. It'll break, you put it in. How many times have you broken the leg on that? I haven't, oh, once.
Have you guys finished the stream now?
Stream, we're just finishing up. Yeah, we're almost done.
Which I love. It's just I love.
You love that.
That
yeah.
to be. I really like it. I love to give it.
All right, friends. We have concluded. We have concluded our judging. We have determined our gold, silver, and bronzes. How did you feel that went?
Oh, I think it went quite smoothly this year. Actually, we've had some big arguments in the past. Not discussions.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
arguments.
Strong opinions.
Strong opinions. I think it's easier with just two of us, but we don't have the third. Sometimes the third
Is a balancing,
element is a
yeah.
good balance.
Yeah.
But I think the field has been
Really high quality.
really strong.
Yeah, really high quality.
The strongest it's ever been, which is a really great to see.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of COVID, and we haven't had the comp for a couple of years.
Indeed.
It's really fantastic to see so many wonderful entries.
Yeah.
And like we said at the start, I think every entry deserves huge kudos, and we love seeing all of them.
Yeah.
We have to make the tough.
Everyone
decisions,
deserves
but
applause for
everyone deserves
putting
a
their stuff in.
really-
And really,
yeah.
you're not
Yeah, well done.
competing against other people. You're competing against yourself. And
Yeah.
if you've put something here that you're proud of, that's an achievement. And there's some really cool pieces over here, and people that I know
Yeah.
that have stretched themselves and have pushed and have improved. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, every year the bar seems to get a little bit higher. And maybe
Yeah.
last year they've improved, and they thought, oh, this is enough to get me over the line, and it's not again. But yeah.
Yeah, we're all on our own painting journey, though. That's how I view it.
Yeah.
You know, we're all. If you're competing against someone, you're competing against yourself only.
Yeah.
And you're competing on your own terms in what you want to do with your painting and the way you want to explore colors and techniques or what you want to paint. So, thanks. Whether you won or lost here. please keep bringing your entries. We love seeing all of it.
appreciate
It makes it a
And,
fantastic competition.
From my perspective, it was really important for me to do this approach where we opened up the judging. It's it's hard sometimes to get a critique or get feedback about your pieces, and hopefully this is an opportunity for people to look at some other works or their own if they're watching it back, and to understand what we're looking for, understand the things that stand out, and I'm sure we'll get told we said completely contradictory things on certain models, but
I'm sure we did.
there's a subjective element of any judging process, which is this is what I like. And
and we're not. We're just a couple of guys. We're not perfect.
Yeah, I'm good looking.
One of us is good looking. But we.
Subjective.
We do try to give all the entries the respect they deserve, and we have you get into a thought process judging, don't you? And I guess that's been interesting. It's been really. I like the idea of you being able to hear what we've been saying. It's good.
Well, it's hopefully increasing some transparency, giving people some idea about what to do, but also just broadening the event and giving people more exposure to this type of painting and this type of stuff. So fantastic. Thank you all for your support on the stream. We will be tapping out now. We're going to talk about Best in Show. That will be announced tomorrow at the awards ceremony. At this stage, I'm probably not going to be streaming the awards ceremony, but I may have my arm twisted into doing it. So we may see you tomorrow, but thank you. Thanks,
See you,
Seb.
everyone.
On you, man. Good job.
Pleasure.
Toodaloo!